Steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, Ram replied without thinking. If it's steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, I'm afraid you won't be able to eat it now, Dicus said. Why? Mamie restaurant only provides a selected breakfast menu for their breakfast operating hours. The dishes with heavier flavors and those that require more preparation time are not available during breakfast. That includes the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, Dicus explained. I see. Ram fell deep in thought. He didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to eat the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers that he had been craving even after waking up early in the morning. What a pity. Boss Mag is someone who goes by the rules. Even I won't be able to convince him to make steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers for you. But, Mamie Restaurant's breakfast menu is superb as well. Whether it's soybean milk with yoshao, or tofu pudding with yongzhou fried rice, or even a bowl of warm congee with pork and century egg, you are sure to be satisfied for the entire morning, Dicus advised with a smile. Although the names sound strange, it seems like the food is not bad. Then I shall try the other dishes for breakfast. Ram nodded. Actually, he was not certain if he really wanted to have steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers early in the morning. He would have it later at night after he was done with his things coupled with some wine. That was the life. Joss stood behind the two of them, and looked at the beautiful restaurant in front, and then at the ever-increasing line behind him. He was speechless. He didn't think that Mr. Mag's restaurant would be so famous that so many people would be willing to line up early in the morning for breakfast. Not long later, a black horse-drawn carriage stopped at Mamie Restaurant. Mamie Restaurant, we've reached Mamie Restaurant. The butler lifted the curtain and glanced outside. After that, he hesitantly said, but the line seems a little long. If we were to join the line, I don't know how long we'll have to wait. So many people? Then we would have to wait for ages. Ian lifted the curtain and glanced out. He quickly put the curtain down, and said, let's go back. I'd rather fish than to wait in line here. Yes. The butler nodded, and instructed the coachman to head back. No one noticed that such a horse-drawn carriage stopped by for a while and left. Not long later, the restaurant's door opened. Mag walked out and welcomed the customers with a smile. Mag looked towards the end of the line habitually and saw Ram. He was shocked and surprised, but still greeted the customers with a warm smile. Master Ram, I didn't expect you to really come, Mag said with a smile as Ram approached him. If I didn't, I'm afraid I would never be able to enjoy that delicious steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers again, Ram replied with a smile, and continued, no one in this world can make anything as delicious as that. If it's the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, I'm afraid, I know. I'll come back again at night for that. I'll just settle with something else for breakfast. I'll have to find a place later to set up the forge, Ram said with a smile, and went straight in so he wouldn't block the entrance. The city lord told me to help Master Ram with the forge, Dicus explained to Mag with a smile, and followed Ram into the restaurant. Joss looked at Mr. Mag and bowed before following behind them quickly. If it was not for this man, he might not be his master's disciple anymore, much less come to Chaos City with him to learn forging. Mag smiled. Master Ram was an understanding person, and didn't like to trouble others. Master Ram ordered a bowl of congee with pork and century egg, and after finishing it, he ordered another bowl. Before leaving, he walked to the kitchen, and gave Mag a thumbs up as he complimented, young friend, your culinary skills are extraordinary. I'm afraid I'll become the restaurant's regular too. I will be more than willing to welcome you if you are willing to come, Mag said with a smile, and watched them leave. Isn't that the legendary weaponsmith, Master Ram? I heard from the traders who entered the city today that Master Ram was in Chaos City, but I didn't expect him to come to Mamie Restaurant early in the morning for breakfast. Yet. It looks like he's quite close with Boss Mag. Could Boss Mag be the reason he wanted to shift his forge over to Chaos City? Well, if I was him. That's really possible. The customers conversed softly as they watched Rom walk out. As the most famous and legendary weaponsmith on the Norland continent, Master Rom, who made the Tiandu sword and other famous swords, would always be the center of attraction no matter what he did. For the past few years, there was suddenly no news of Master Rom. He closed himself up in his workplace and rejected all customers. There was also a long period of time where he did not make any new weapons, and there were even rumors going around saying that he had already retired. But no one would expect him to suddenly announce his departure from Eason Castle, and move his forge to Chaos City. On top of that, rumor had it that his recent work was a cleaver named Fathead Fish. Of course, that was only a rumor, and no one would believe that Master Rom would make a cleaver for anyone. That was the kind of job that only a roadside blacksmith would take up, and it was completely unbefitting of Master Rom's status. Everyone could be certain of one thing today: Master Rom had indeed come to Chaos City, and he looked rather energetic. Perhaps they would hear news of a new divine weapon soon. The morning operating hours had ended, and Mia and the rest had gone to the ice cream. Mag opened the door, and Harris, who was waiting outside with a smile, walked in with Chapman. Smiling, he asked Mag, "Master, are we learning Buddha jumps over the wall today?" No. Mag rolled his eyes. "I've already told you hundreds of times, even if you know how to make it, you won't be able to find all the ingredients." "Master, you're belittling me. I am still a very famous chef. Even if I can't find all the ingredients, we can still find replacements," Harris said with a smile. "If the ingredients could be replaced so easily, it wouldn't be called Buddha jumps over the wall." Mag glanced at Harris's thick hair. On top of losing its true taste, it would also lose all of its special effects. "If it can't prevent hair loss and promote hair growth, I'd rather not learn." Harris ran his fingers through his hair, and proudly said, "Look at my hair. 2-in-1, black and bright." "Oh, right. Master Rom has come to Chaos City. Aren't the two of you old friends?" Mag said casually as he set up the grill. "One look up Duan on Wikipedia, it's a Chinese meme and slang. Here, it basically means something like swish or whoosh, implying special effects from shampoo ads." Chapter 1652 Combing it neatly so it's easier for Amy to burn. "How's that possible? That fellow is the kind who would stay in his forge forever." Harris's eyes widened. He was really shocked. "Maybe the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers is too good," Mag said calmly. "You mean, he came over because of your steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers?" He would actually give up his resolution and belief to stay in his forge, and travel miles away to Chaos City just for a fish head. Harris looked at Mag in disbelief. "Isn't the charm of a fish head enough?" Mag asked Harris. Harris thought carefully and nodded, saying, "It's enough. Didn't he stay in Chaos City because of one dish?" It might sound unbelievable, yet that was how it was. "We'll learn how to make beef kebab today. It's the simplest skewered food." Mag took out a lump of beef and some bamboo skewers, and placed them on the countertop. "We'll start from cutting beef cubes and skewering the meat. Grilling meat is my expertise. I'll definitely learn it fast," Harris said confidently. Chapman stood at the side, watching like a serious student. "Grilling is a technical job. You can only make good grilled meat if you have good control over the temperature. The preparation of ingredients is also very important. This beef that we're using," Mag started teaching very seriously. Harris and Chapman were very good disciples. They already had a very good culinary foundation, and were humble and serious when cooking. Therefore, other than the husband and wife lung slice, Mag also intended to teach them how to make beef kebab. Without kebabs, suppers would be so lonely and boring. Mag didn't have the ability to let more people enjoy the kebab yet, but Harris, who loved to roam around and battle others, could bring the kebab far and wide. Perhaps he could bring kebab to greater heights in Norland continent's supper scene. One would never be able to earn all the money in the world. Adding a new, peculiar dish to a world's food structure, and making it a trend would not be easy. Just in Chaos City alone, even though Mag had never disallowed copies of his dishes, those restaurants in Aiden Square which came up with various versions of his dish never really made it big after the hype was over. Therefore, a professional disciple was equally important. Master, don't worry. We won't impart all these to another person after learning. It's just for our own growth and learning, Harris promised as he looked at Mag. He was very touched by Mag's straightforwardness and contribution without asking for any returns. Recipes were very private secrets that even fathers might not impart to their sons, much less to two other complete strangers. Yet, he actually taught them everything without hiding anything because of a bet that they made. Such character and trust made him admire Mag from deep down, therefore, Mag deserved the title Master. You don't have to keep it a secret for me. I think the current standard of the culinary world is too low. I hope that you can spread these two dishes out for me to increase the standard of the culinary world a little, Mag said with a shake of his head. Harris was stunned. When he saw that Mag was calm, and didn't seem like he was kidding, he could not help but sigh. So this is the loneliness of an expert. I once felt that too, but I didn't expect to meet you one day, Master. Don't worry, in the future, I will spread the recipe whenever I go to a new place so that these two dishes can spread far and wide. You'll have to master it first. Mag glanced at Harris with a smile, and asked, You don't want any tips from me this time as well? No, a qualified student shouldn't ask for tips without even trying. Although tips would mean fewer mistakes made, that would also mean fewer chances to find out where I am lacking and find room for improvement. Harris rejected outrightly. Chapman, who was standing at the side, hesitated for a while. He looked at Mag, and said, Grandmaster, I would like to try it on my own this time. All right. Then go ahead. I'll go out for a while. Mag undid his apron, took some beef kebabs that were done, and walked out. Hey, why don't you want the tips this time? Harris asked Chapman with a smile. Master, you're right. Shortcuts won't help a chef grow. The things that are spoon-fed to you and the things that you understand through thinking are different. This is what you taught me since young, Chapman said seriously. All right. Let's start from cutting the meat. Harris took out a knife, and started cutting the meat seriously. Studying the blueprint. Mag had gone to the blacksmith next door with the kebabs. Mabai, Lulu, and Hannah were sitting around a small table as they talked about the blueprint. Yes, boss. Boss Mabai is really impressive. He's almost done with the first part. Hannah raised her head. There were 3 gray streaks on her face, making her look like a dirty little cat. Boss Mag. Mabai looked at Mag and greeted him. I made some beef kebabs. Have some before you continue. Mag passed the kebabs over. They were just right, 2 for each person. Boss, I'll bring you over to look at the machine. Hannah brought Mag over to the forging room next door. Hannah pointed at a row of big parts in the corner of the forging room, and said, Look, these parts are already done. Now we just need the main body of the brewing machine. Boss Mabai said that the size was too big, and the forging room wasn't large enough, so he had to go to his friend's place, and get a few blacksmiths to make it with him. The efficiency is good, and so is the quality. This is way better than what you initially had. Mabai squatted down to check on the parts. He had to give it to Mabai. Although the parts were handmade, they were all very precise, and would be perfect for brewing wine. Mabai indeed lives up to his reputation as someone who could make cannons. Hannah seriously said, I made it myself. Although it's a little uglier, it helped me make high-quality rum, and that shows that it's a good machine. All right, all right, all right. I know you're awesome, Mag said with a smile. It seemed like the construction of the brewery could start at the same time. When it was done, the machine could be brought in, and they could start producing rum in large quantities. Mag could already imagine how much of an investment it was to own a top-grade rum factory and own a top brand. Carry on, I'll go get some sundae. Mag did not stay for long. After leaving the blacksmith, he saw Urian, who was combing Black Coal's remaining few feathers outside the magic potion shop next door, and smilingly greeted, "Master Urian, are you combing Black Coal?" Black Coal stretched its neck as it enjoyed the feeling of the teeth of the comb gliding down its body. "I'm combing it neatly so it's easier for Amy to burn," Urian said in a hoarse voice. Black Coal returned to its cage stiffly. Knighthood is justice. Mag went through the different alcohols in his mind, and curiously asked, "Whiskey is also coined the spring of life. Is it related to the elves' spring of life in this world?" "The host can ascertain the specific effects after he picks it," the system said slowly. Mag frowned and thought about it for a while before saying, "All right, I want the Scotch whisky and Mau Tai." Ding! Scotch whisky and Mau Tai recipes have been successfully released. The system notification rang, and 2 golden experience bags, labeled whisky and Mau Tai, respectively, appeared in Mag's mind. The Scotch was the ancestor of whisky, while the Mau Tai was the classic alcoholic drink of China. Coupled with the beer that the restaurant currently had and the rum, Mamie Restaurant's alcoholic drinks would be more varied and diversified. It was a pity that the red wine in the system was not available for him. Otherwise, just with the quality that could thrash Romani Conti, Mag could easily sell it at a very high price. Of course, he would not know if the staple alcohol of the Chinese people would be popular here. Interesting. I'll learn the whisky first tonight, and see if the spring of life created by the English gentleman is befitting of its name. Mag smiled. He had quite some expectations for the country that was known for producing bald men and warm-hearted gentlemen. Since he had nothing to do, Mag finished up the experience bags, and closed his eyes for half an hour to digest them. When he opened his eyes again, he felt as though he was an invincible master brewer. Mag stroked his chin as he thought, "It looks like we can make the brewery bigger and produce all 4 alcohols. Dwarves love alcohol, demons love alcohol, orcs love alcohol, humans also love alcohol. There are even drinkers even among the elves. This business has a very big market." But to date, only a few kinds of alcohol were popular within the drinking circle. There was almost no alcohol with a high supply and good reputation. Judging from the positive reviews the customers had towards beer and rum, these 2 alcohols would not be oversupplied even if they were produced in large quantities. As long as they could produce enough and market widely enough, they might even become world-renowned. "I can negotiate with the city lord for the land. As for the labor, there are still around 20,000 idle night elves for me to employ." Mag planned inside. He could think about that again later, but it seemed he couldn't escape burning the midnight oil to come up with the design for the machines and factories. Krasu and Urian intend to go for a night exploration in the Thunderstorm Mountains. "Do you want to come along?" Just as Mag was thinking, Irina's voice suddenly sounded from beside him. "Something happened there," Mag said in shock as he opened his eyes, and turned to look at Irina, who appeared from nowhere. Irina had told him before that there might be a certain evil god being trapped under the Thunderstorm Mountains. The worst part was that the seal was already imperfect, and the evilness had already started leaking out. It could possibly attract the descendants and followers of the evil god. "We don't know the situation. It's said that recently, there has been a mysterious person loitering around the Thunderstorm Mountains. They were afraid that the person might discover the seal and destroy it, thereby releasing the evil god, so we've decided to take a look." "Then why at night?" "We have received information that there would be a strange phenomenon happening at the Thunderstorm Mountains during the night recently, so we're going to take a look while we're at it," Irina explained. "Then I'll join you." Mag nodded. The shadows of the Great Old Ones had always been looming over him. Once the evil god broke free from the seal, it would be irreversible, and the Norland continent wasn't ready for the evil god yet. "All right." Irina nodded. She looked in the direction of the magic potion shop with a smile, and said, "I've seen Amy's recent homework." It seemed like Urian and Krasu had already progressed quite well with Amy. Would it be bad for Amy to be learning both ice and fire magic, as well as long and short range attacks? Mag asked Irina. He wasn't sure if allowing Amy to become both Urian's and Krasu's disciple was a good decision anymore. It would be bad if you let such an opportunity go to waste. Irina smiled, and said, "She's our daughter. She inherited my magic talent and your close combat magic talent. Her future will be very bright after learning from both of them." Upon hearing that, Mag smiled. Since Irina had already said that, he wouldn't have to worry further. "Besides, I'm considering letting her learn swordsmanship from you at the age of 5, Irina said. "You want a magic caster to learn swordsmanship?" Mag looked at Irina in shock. Although he did teach Amy some basic swordsmanship occasionally, it was only so that she could stay healthy. After seeing her talent in magic, he had second thoughts about nurturing her into the new generation dragon slayer. "Didn't you always tell me that magic is just the appearance, and knighthood is justice?" Irina asked. That sounds about right." Mag thought for a while, and then said, "If Amy wants to learn, I will work hard to nurture her into an outstanding knight." "You must teach her." Irina became serious. "We don't know what the future holds, and we're unsure if we could annihilate or seal the evil god back. Having one more ability means she will be more capable than others to survive in this world." Mag looked at Irina. He fell silent for a while before saying with a nod, "All right. I will make her into an outstanding dragon-slaying knight. She is my daughter, so she will be able to achieve it. My dream is to become a magic caster who wields a sword. If it weren't because I wasn't talented enough." Irina pressed her lips together. Then, she expectantly said, "Say, if you pull out your magic caster's staff, and while the enemy is waiting for you to cast your spell, they realize that you're advancing at an incredible speed, then they exclaim in shock that you're actually a close combat magic caster, but in the end, you pull out a sword from the staff, and stab him. Don't you think that's exhilarating?" Mag thought carefully about that scenario, and then said with a frown, "I feel like it was just a somewhat useless fake. It was something that could be settled with a fireball, but after doing all that, things would be a little complicated. No, the point is to make your enemy always be unsure of what your next move will be. That way, you will never lose," Irina said with a shake of her head. "Is this the reason why you have a few hundred chairs stored in your distort space? Base. Chapter 1654 I'm just an iron fool who knows how to forge." This was because Amy was not a piece of blank paper. Even though she was not even 5 years old, she was already reaching the 7th tier for both her fire magic and ice magic, and she was also a close combat magic caster. Krasu's close combat magic tactic relied on his powerful magic to create a sudden and powerful blast within a short distance, for example using the magic caster's staff to split the head. It was violent and impactful. However, such a tactic was just child's play to Mag, who was a master at sword techniques. At the moment the magic caster's staff was raised, his sword could already find countless loopholes to attack. With Krasu's abilities, one would have to worry if the enemy was able to resist his attack. However, Amy was still growing, and if she met a powerhouse of the same tier or an even higher tier, she would be disadvantaged. Of course, using magic in close combat was a very noble creation, and Amy was doing very well in it. What Mag wanted to do was not to overthrow all that Amy had learned, but to work on the existing basics she had in close combat magic so that she could learn more comprehensive night attack techniques and combine them with the explosiveness of close combat magic to make her attacks even more powerful. His goal for her would be a magic caster with superb sword techniques. This would probably be a combination like never before, and thinking about it alone made him excited. I would still have to discuss it with Master Krasu if there's a chance. I need to have a better understanding of close combat magic so that I can find a suitable training method for Amy. Mag stroked his chin. Ram came over very early in the afternoon. He had been starting to get forgetful again recently. Although it was not to the extent of affecting his everyday life, it had reduced his efficiency in thinking about problems, and that made him uncomfortable. The taste of the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers was unforgettable, but what Ram really cared about was its special ability to make one become clear-headed. He had not much time left, so he needed a clear head so that he could use his final moments to forge a real legendary weapon that would surpass all. He had spent his entire life on a forging table, and would ideally want to die at the forging table too. Young Master Cyril, that is Master Ram over there. He is the best blacksmith on the whole Norland continent. If we could hire him in our shop as the senior blacksmith, even if it was just in name, we would still become the best forging shop in the entire Norland continent. That way, we wouldn't have to worry about getting orders, a sly-looking man in a horse-drawn carriage said while pointing to Rom. Then he's it. I want him to join our shop at whatever cost. Cyril looked squinted as he looked at Ram, and said with a scoff, this time, I will definitely make Gloria have a taste of failure, and get everything she took from me back. You have to be mentally prepared for a master of his caliber, the man beside Cyril reminded the latter. How much would you estimate it to be? Cyril frowned. As he had been losing with his battle with Gloria recently, his status in the family had been getting lower and lower, and the money that he could command was getting more and more limited. I suppose, that man pondered for a while, and said with certainty, 1,000,000 copper coins. 1,000,000 copper coins. Cyril frowned. This amount used to be his pocket money for a month, but in order to make the forging shop's account look better recently, he had been filling in most of the gaps from his own pocket. If he really had to fork out 1,000,000 copper coins, he would have to borrow from a few friends. Young master, he is a real master, the kind that is super famous. This investment is definitely worth it, that man encouraged. All right. Let's meet this master. Cyril nodded. He lifted the curtain of the horse-drawn carriage, and tidied himself before walking to Ram, who was in the line. Cyril went to Ram with his head slightly tilted up, and said, Hi. I'm Cyril. Ram glanced at him and nodded slightly. It seemed like these people asking for weapons had followed him to Chaos City. That's your reaction after hearing my name? Cyril frowned. He didn't expect this old fogey to be so disrespectful. This is young Master Cyril from the Moreton family, the man standing behind Cyril quickly introduced. Him. Ram nodded out of courtesy again, and turned to face the direction of the restaurant entrance. Over the years, there had been countless royal princes, court officials, and young masters of certain families from different races who begged him to make them a weapon. The people around in the line all looked over. Most of them recognized Cyril, and knew that he was the young master of the Moreton family. There were people who recognized Ram. Though this legendary forging master didn't appear much in public, his fame was not something an aristocrat like Cyril could compare to. Everyone was curious about why Cyril would look for Master Ram. He was not one who would wield a knife or a sword, so it didn't seem like he would ask Master Ram to make him a weapon. Cyril could not maintain his expression anymore. After all, he could be considered a celebrity in Chaos City. How could he be ignored by a dwarven blacksmith just like that in the public eye? Young master, bear with it for the greater good. The forging shop's business is the top priority, that man reminded Cyril as he quickly tugged the corner of Cyril's shirt for fear that Cyril would mess things up in a moment of rashness. Cyril recalled his 3-month bet with Gloria, and took a deep breath to calm himself down. He looked at Ram, and tried to as calmly as possible say, Master Ram, right? I would like to discuss a business with you. Ram looked up at Cyril in a bit of shock, and then shook his head as he said, I don't do business. This is not a small business. If we make a deal, I can guarantee that you will live in comfort in Chaos City. Cyril stuck out one finger with a smile, and said, 1,000,000 copper coin business. A million? Copper coins. Rom frowned. He sized Cyril up. Is this fellow here to look for trouble? A million copper coins, and you're asking Master Rom for a deal? Tisk. I really don't know if I should say that he's fearless because he's ignorant, or that he's just dumb. I heard the last one who collected a knife from Master Rom, a demon elder, paid with around 1 million dragon coins and a lot of top-grade forging materials. If young Master Cyril manages to close the deal, he would be a god. Do you think the Master is on the same level as him? The customers in the line could not hold back their laughter when they heard what Cyril said. Shocked by 1 million, hey! Cyril was rather satisfied with Rom's reaction. He smiled, but was regretting a little. He should have offered 500,000 to test him out first, and he might even get to save some money. I'm just an iron fool who knows how to forge. Rom shook his head with a smile, and said, a million copper coin business is beyond me. He wasn't able to rush back into the city before sunset, and happened to witness the people from the city lord's castle come out to welcome Rom into the city. He heard some news about Master Rom from some of the peddlers, so he went into the city early in the morning to look for Cyril. After asking around everywhere, they finally managed to find Master Rom in the afternoon at Mamie restaurant. He only knew that Rom should be a very outstanding blacksmith, but he had no concept of specifically how outstanding. However, 1 million copper coins wasn't a small sum, even more so for a blacksmith. Joss went up, and seriously said, Master Rom has already rejected your invitation. Please do not disturb him further. Joey, who was standing by the side, was also dumbfounded with Cyril and his henchmen. 1 million copper coins? Who would come looking for Master Rom with only 1 million copper coins in his pocket expecting a weapon to be made? He wouldn't even have the cheek to ask, much less to hire him to work. Back then, when the Roth Empire wanted to hire Master Rom, they offered a huge amount of money and the status of a duke, but even that didn't work. The other people who knew who Rom was looked at Cyril the same way. Is he a fool? Why did the Moreton family choose such a person as their heir? Harrison asked softly. Hee, you don't know this. Back then, President Jeffrey chose the first young master, Lance, to be the heir, and this second young master was basically just living off the family. After that, Lance suddenly gave up business, and went to become a teacher, so this second young master became the heir. Lance almost cut off all ties with President Jeffrey just to become a teacher, so this second young master practically became the future master of the family without doing anything. Since no one could threaten his position, he went from bad to worse, and is still a wastrel. This behavior is already pretty normal, Trjay said with a chuckle. But that's no longer the case. I heard that the president has been considering transferring the heirship to his oldest granddaughter recently. Another sheer buffet from the Moreton family. Harrison exclaimed. Probably. If I were President Jeffrey, even if I were to get a pig to be heir, it would be better than this young master. At least a pig isn't that stupid, Trjay mocked softly. Seeing that Rom was ignoring him, Cyril suddenly pulled a face. How could a dwarf henchman use such an arrogant tone to talk to him? He shouted, What do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like this? Joss glanced at Cyril coldly. Although he only reached Cyril's waist, as a blacksmith who grew up in a forging shop, he was very adept with the use of the big hammer, and was not at all afraid of weak humans like him. He even thought that he could fight 10 Cyrils alone. Of course, the most important part was that he would not allow anyone to humiliate Master Rom. Joey had the same expression, and was even gripping the hammer he carried on his back. From the looks of it, Gloria has a high chance of winning. Mag watched everything that was happening outside with a smile while standing in front of the restaurant window. He was not worried that Master Rom would be humiliated by Cyril. After all, Dykus was around, and if Master Rom were to leave because of Cyril, Michael would probably tear the latter apart. The customers who knew who Rom was looked at Cyril pitifully. If this matter spread to those who wanted weapons from Master Rom, Cyril would probably become a rare treasure hunted by them in an attempt to curry Master Rom's favor. The funniest part was that that fellow had no idea at all. The man who brought Cyril over saw Cyril blow up, and knew that the deal was off. If he wasn't careful, he might even end up offending Cyril. He thought quickly, and put on an angry expression, pointing his finger at Joss as he shouted, "Don't push your luck. I think you're just too tired of living. Ouch! Ouch! Ouch!" Crack! After the crisp sound, Joey loosened his grip on that man's deformed and fractured finger as he continued standing in front of Master Rom to protect the latter. Cyril jumped back. When he saw that man's drooping finger, his eyelids twitched. However, this was Chaos City, after all. He regained all his confidence, and howled, "How dare you beat my man up? Today, I will Cyril, Master Rom is the City Lord's distinguished guest. You'd better be more respectful." Just then, Dicus, who was standing slightly at the back, spoke up. "It's Sir Dicus. I didn't expect you to be here." Cyril was stunned when he saw Dicus. He could recognize this City Lord's castle official, and his father even reminded him that Dicus was the City Lord's confidant, and should not be trifled with. However, he quickly came to his senses. He looked at Dicus in shock, then at Rom, and said, "You mean he's the City Lord's distinguished guest?" Master Rom is the most famous forging master on the entire Norland continent. No matter where he went, he would be the guest of honor and a distinguished guest, Dicus said sternly. He looked at Cyril a little speechlessly as his heart went out for Geoffrey for a moment. How did he father such a son? Cyril's eyelids started twitching violently upon hearing that. At first, he thought Rom was just some impressive dwarven blacksmith. Never would he have thought that this fellow would have the City Lord's castle behind him. Cyril previously attempted to get into Chaos City's underground world during Bennett's arrest, but Bowen and his son's arrest served as a warning bell to him. After that, he quickly sent the friend who suggested that to the City Lord's castle, and that was how he escaped a beating from his father. However, he did not expect that he would trifle with the City Lord's guest of honor just after a turn around the corner. "I see. I'm so sorry for my impudence. It seemed like Master Rom has no intention to be my forging shop's senior consultant. I will not bother you then. Goodbye." Cyril quickly left after bidding farewell. He finally understood that he was the real Iron Fool. Dicus looked at Rom apologetically, and said, "I'm so sorry, Master Rom, this person, it's all right. Weird people exist. I wouldn't stoop to their level," Rom said with a shake of his head. Upon hearing that, Dicus smiled. The master was of a different level indeed. "You fool! You almost did me in." Back in the horse-drawn carriage, Cyril kicked the man who was holding onto his fractured finger while following behind. "I was wrong. I was wrong." That man held his hand and sat in a corner, his face full of grievance as his body shook from fear. Fear. Chapter 1656. Isn't this fish head delish? Geoffrey was staring at Cyril, who was covering his face aggrievedly, with anger. He was so angry that his mustache stood up. "Father! I didn't do anything," Cyril said softly. He didn't expect his father to summon him as soon as he reached home, and slap him as soon as he met the other party. Perhaps his father had found out about today's incident? "Didn't do anything? You tried to give Master Rom 1 million copper coins to work at your blacksmith shop, and you dare to say you did nothing?" Geoffrey was so angry that he actually laughed out loud. Cyril peeped at Geoffrey as he softly said, "Didn't that fail? Furthermore, I didn't do anything to him. Didn't you say that we have to be bold when doing business? I simply failed in making a business deal." "Shut up, you idiot!" Geoffrey backslapped Cyril's face again. He was so furious that he spoke with shaking hands. "Why did I have such a stupid son like you?" Cyril covered his face with his hands as he stared at Geoffrey with fear. He hadn't seen his father lose his cool for a long time. Do you have any idea what kind of existence Master Ram is? The Tiandu sword that Alex used to slay dragons was forged by him. The king of the Roth Empire's sword was forged by him. The sword of Oster, the chief of the Og tribe, was forged by him. 5 out of the top 10 weapons on the Norland continent's weapons ranking came from his hands. The other 5 are almost all heirloom weapons of all the tribes. Do you have any idea how many 10th tier powerhouses are lining up and begging him to forge them a weapon, and are rejected by him? If they knew that you had annoyed him, as long as they could please Master Ram, they would stomp into our manor, pluck your head off, wrap it up and send it to Master Ram tonight. Geoffrey panted as he stared at Cyril, who had seriously failed his expectations. Do you think you are talking about business? The stupid thing that you did was to offer your head as a gift. Thud. Cyril's knees went weak, and he knelt in front of Geoffrey straight away with an ashen face. He thought he had only made a small blunder, and would get it over after paying a small price. He hadn't expected that he had courted such terrible trouble for himself. Father, save me! Father, save me! Cyril said with terror as he crawled to Geoffrey on his knees. A group of 10th tier powerhouses were lining up to pluck his head off. It was scary enough just to think about that scene. You have caused such terrifying trouble. Even I cannot save you from this. Geoffrey pulled back the leg that was grabbed by Cyril. Then, what should I do? Simply wait at home for them to come and kill me? No, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, Cyril wailed as he shook his head. For this matter to be resolved, the only way out is to seek Master Ram's forgiveness. And, you've got to do it before sunrise. Geoffrey's expression had already slowly calmed down. He looked at Cyril coldly, and said, if this matter isn't resolved properly, not only you will be in dire straits, all of us in the Moreton family will be in trouble too. Even if you manage to save your life, I'll still have to exile you from the Moreton family. Yes. Yes. I'll apologize to him right now. I'll go right now. Cyril got up and stumbled toward the door. He would really lose everything if he actually was exiled. Idiot, do you know where to find Master Ram? And how to seek his forgiveness? Geoffrey's voice sounded. Cyril halted his steps instantly. He met Master Ram at Mamie restaurant at noon, but he really had no idea where he was now. He also had not thought about how to gain his forgiveness. Most probably, he would have to kneel in front of him and kowtow to him in tears as he begged for his forgiveness. He had both his breakfast and lunch at Mamie restaurant today, so he most likely will still appear at Mamie restaurant tonight. Secondly, he hates people who pester him, so you'd better find someone whom he trusts to put in a good word for you, Geoffrey said in a calm voice. Someone whom he trusts, the 2 young dwarves popped into Cyril's mind first, but obviously they would never help him. As for Dicus, it was even more impossible with his earlier attitude. Even after thinking very hard about it, he still couldn't think of anyone who could help him. There was news which mentioned that Master Ram's latest piece of work was a cleaver. This cleaver was given to the boss of Mamie restaurant by him. Furthermore, Master Ram has already eaten 2 meals continuously at Mamie restaurant since he arrived at Chaos City. This matter might be resolved if you could ask the boss of Mamie restaurant to put in a good word for you, Geoffrey said. The boss of Mamie restaurant? Cyril looked as if he had swallowed a fly. Of course, he could remember that man. He had conflicts with him at both the Chamber of Commerce's meetings. This fellow had taken Gloria's side completely. Asking him to put in a good word for him would be equivalent to a mouse asking a cat for a favor. However, who was this fellow actually? There were weapons that 10th tier powerhouses weren't able to obtain, and he was able to ask Master Ram to forge a cleaver for him? A cleaver? I know you don't get along well with him. As for what to do, you can decide for yourself, Geoffrey calmly said. I'm not going to let the whole family die along with you. Yes. Cyril left with a dark expression. Being humiliated by that fellow was nothing when compared to losing his head. As long as this matter could blow over, he would still be the second young master of the Moritons. Prepare the carriage. We're going to Mamie restaurant. Harris placed his chin on his hand as he watched Rom, who was eating the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, with amazement, and mumbled, "This is really perplexing. You actually came to Chaos City too, old Rom." Rom sucked out the brains and the bones, and then instead asked, "Isn't this fish head delish? Don't tell me, you really came here for this fish head? You really shifted the workshop thousands of kilometers here to Chaos City because of that?" Harris still couldn't believe that. "I wouldn't have moved if I could have had this at the Eason Castle." Rom nodded, and then flicked a glance at Harris. "Didn't you say you liked to wander around, and hated to remain at one place? Why are you staying here too?" "Because the fish head is really delish." Harris sighed. Rom laughed. About 30 to 50 years ago, when Harris was at the Eason Castle, he always went to look for Rom at the workshop. Different from those people who came to ask him for a weapon, he always came with a big box of food. He persevered for many years, and Rom eventually could no longer reject him. Hence, he had forged a chef's knife for him. They were really chummy, and Harris could be considered as one of his few friends. Furthermore, didn't you say that you wouldn't forge a chef's knife for anyone else again? Why did you make one for Boss Mag too?" "I exchanged it for the fish head." Rom put down the fish bones that he had finished sucking out the brains from inside. "I simply couldn't resist it. I've heard this restaurant's boss earns quite a lot. The dishes are exorbitant, and yet the restaurant's full of customers every day. He can earn hundreds of thousands daily," someone chimed in enviously. "Isn't it still a small restaurant? How dare he antagonize our young master Cyril? Do you want us to go to his restaurant? We're not good at anything, but we're great at looking for trouble. We can thrash his shop no matter how good its business is." A ruffian-looking man chuckled as he tried to suck up to Cyril. Everyone knew a little about Cyril and Gloria's competition, and the boss of Mamie restaurant seemed to be on Gloria's side. They had heard his name from Cyril a few times. Cyril asked them about the boss of Mamie restaurant after he gathered them today. Perhaps he had decided to strike against him? "I'm not going to make trouble for him. Instead, I need to ask him for help," Cyril said with furrowed brows. "Ask him for help?" Everyone was shocked to hear that. Cyril actually wanted to ask a restaurant's owner for help. Moreover, it was someone who had always been against him. Cyril nodded. "I need to ask him for help. Do any of you know him well? Ever since I heard that you didn't like him, I haven't gone to his restaurant. Hence, I don't even know what the boss looks like. I have never been there, either." All of them shook their heads. "None of you knows him?" Cyril furrowed his brows tightly. It seemed like he couldn't depend on this bunch of good-for-nothing friends at all. "Doesn't your niece have a great relationship with him?" someone reminded him. All of them glared at him. This chap got to rub his nose in it. Cyril had been very frustrated lately because of Gloria, and this chap still asked him to go and look for her. Cyril descended deep in thought after hearing that. Although it was humiliating to ask Gloria for help, and she might even not help him, she was the only person that he could look for now. His pride was nothing when it was compared to his life. "You guys drink on your own. I need to go now as I have something on." Cyril turned and strode to the door, leaving the rest of them looking at one another in befuddlement. Someone softly asked, "Did Cyril really go to ask Gloria for help?" "Mars, is what you said for real?" Gloria asked Mars, who had just returned, with a frown in the lounge of the Blue Suede's new factory. "I met someone I knew on my way back, and he witnessed that incident personally. I'm afraid Cyril has caused huge trouble this time." Mars nodded, and continued, "However, this is actually a good thing for young mistress. Master will lean more toward you even if this matter is resolved eventually. We shouldn't care about personal gains when facing such huge troubles. If what you said is true, then Master Ram's followers may take their anger out on the Moreton family because of Cyril. This is no longer just Cyril's matter alone, it concerns the safety of the hundreds of people in the Moreton family. Gloria shook her head with a worried expression. Young mistress is still thinking about the family's welfare at this time. You have put me to shame. Mars looked at Gloria with admiration before he chuckled. However, the Moreton family has been sinking our roots down in Chaos City for decades, and the reputation of the four major families is not just for show. The City Lord's Castle and the Grey Temple will not sit back and watch them harm the Moreton family. Therefore, you don't have to worry too much. Gloria nodded thoughtfully after hearing that. She still didn't have the full grasp of the Moreton family's influence. She continued, but the Marquis family, that was Bowen and his son asking for it. They decided to run into the City Lord's castles and the Grey Temple's swords. Bennett's incident was enough to make the Marquis family suffer. Mars shook his head. However, the father and son's crimes were not serious enough to get them killed, so they will be released sooner or later. But the Marquis family will never return to their full glory again. Gloria nodded. We still have to obey the rules in Chaos City after all. Right then, a door guard strode in, and respectfully said to Gloria, Boss, someone who said that he was your uncle requests to see you. Uncle. Gloria frowned, and then doubtfully said, could it be Cyril? After a moment of pondering, Gloria said to the guard, bring him to the lounge. Yes. The guard acknowledged and left. After the guard left, Gloria perplexedly asked, perhaps it's because of Master Ram's incident? But I don't know that master, either. He most likely comes to ask you for a favor. Listen to him first, and don't agree to his request directly no matter what he says. Mars was also surprised about Cyril's visit. All right. Gloria nodded. She also wasn't sure about the motive of Cyril's visit. Cyril followed the guards through the factory's gates. He felt rather upset seeing all the neatly lined up factory buildings. He had gone to Blue Suede's previous factory earlier, but most of them had shifted to the new factory. Gloria had come to the new factory, so he came here as well. He didn't expect Gloria to have upgraded to the second factory in a few short months. She had invested a great deal of money, and bought a big piece of land in the north of the city to build this big factory. It was at least 10 times bigger than his blacksmith shops. He wasn't sure about Blue Suede's sales volume now, but judging from his subordinates' information, Blue Suede was already famous in Chaos City. The exorbitant prices didn't douse the ladies' love for it. It was even out of stock often. It was known as the Mamie restaurant of the fashion world. Many haute couture orders that belonged to the famous tailors were now transferred to Blue Suede. The factory operated continuously day and night, and yet they still couldn't meet the demand. However, Gloria had taken over the Moreton family's entire textile industry now. From the cotton farms to the textile shops that were spread throughout the Norland continent, the years of accumulated bad practices, the long chain of sales, and the products that had gradually lost their competitiveness had made this industry that was once the Moreton family's main industry became the leech that was hanging onto the family. Geoffrey had tried to transform it before, but it ended in a failure. There were too many Moretons and old staff who had followed him since he started the business. Furthermore, the problems were very complicated, and there was almost no way for him to start. Gloria was merely a little girl who had just turned 18 years old. What abilities did she have that could revive the industry that Geoffrey had already given up? It's impossible. That doesn't exist, Cyril thought. He tried to make himself less jealous by taking deep breaths. Then, he began to think about how to ask Gloria for help after he met her. Then I will thank you right here, uncle. Gloria nodded, and then looked at Cyril without uttering a word. Cyril was still waiting for Gloria to ask him why he came so he could bring up the topic of asking her to introduce him to the Mamie restaurant's boss and asking him for help. He didn't expect the atmosphere to freeze so awkwardly. After freezing for a while, Cyril realized that Gloria didn't even have the intention to serve him some tea, yet he couldn't just leave. Hence, he could only smile awkwardly. Actually, I have come to ask you for help today. Given Uncle Cyril's abilities, are there still things that I can help you with? Gloria asked smilingly. This, Cyril wished he could burrow into the ground. There was no chance for any reconciliation regarding Gloria and his fight for the inheritance rights. His asking her for help now was equivalent to him asking her to slap him across his face. If he was in her shoes, not only would he watch Gloria suffer, he would also join in and kick her while she was down. This lass has become shrewd and not easy to fool anymore. Cyril flicked a glance at the unmoving Gloria before he rolled his eyes. He slid down from his chair to sit on the floor and wailed. Gloria, you have to help me. I have said the wrong things and offended Master Rom. If I don't obtain his forgiveness by sunset today, there will be people lining up to kill me. It's not only me alone, the entire Moraton family will be involved too. Oh, it seems like Uncle has done something great today. Gloria nodded with a calm expression. She wasn't shocked by Cyril's words or behavior. Cyril and his family had been setting hers up for the past 10-odd years. That she didn't kick him while he was down was already taking into account that they lived under the same roof. But now, he still dared to come and ask her for help shamelessly. Mars nodded slightly when he saw this scene. He had seen Miss Gloria's improvement with his own eyes in the past few months. He watched her grow from a simple maiden into an inscrutable and mature businesswoman. Her speed of growth had astonished him. This fellow is really heartless. A hint of gloom flashed across Cyril's eyes, and he continued to cry in despair. Gloria, maybe you do not know who Master Rom is. Master Rom is the most famous legendary weaponsmith on the Norland continent. Alex's Tiandu sword came from him. Besides that, he forged nearly countless legendary weapons, and he was honored as the #1 weaponsmith in Eason Castle. Countless 10th-tier powerhouses would line up to ask him for a weapon that he had personally forged. Gloria interrupted Cyril. While looking at his surprised expression, she said, I'm really shocked that Uncle didn't know who he was, and even dared to offend him. Cyril choked on his words. This fellow knew everything, but she behaved nonchalantly. It was obvious that she wanted to watch him make a fool of himself. Her sarcastic words even made his cheeks hurt. But it was close to the evening now, and he still couldn't find anyone else who could put in a good word for him, so he had to pin all his hopes on Gloria. The incident has already happened, so it's useless no matter what I explain now. I only hope you can help me plead with the boss of Mamie Restaurant. Ask him to help me apologize to Master Rom and ask for his forgiveness, Cyril pleaded with Gloria earnestly. I know I have done you many wrongs, but I'm really at my wit's end now. You won't want to see people lining up to kill your uncle too, right? Mr. Mag. Surprise flashed through Gloria's eyes. What did this incident have to do with Mr. Mag? Mars also showed a perplexed expression. Cyril should be trying his best to get Master Rom's forgiveness before sunset right now, but what did this got to do with Mr. Mag? Yes. I'm afraid only Mr. Mag could help me now. Cyril swiftly nodded. Master Rom has just arrived at Chaos City. I've heard that Mr. Mag knows Master Rom very well, so there's no one more suitable than him. As long as he's willing to put in a good word for me, this incident will definitely be resolved. So, Mr. Mag and Master Rom knew each other. Gloria was a little surprised, but she didn't show it on her face. After pondering for a moment, she said, Then, you should be looking for Mr. Mag. Why did you come to look for me? You also know that he and I have some conflicts. I'm afraid he won't listen to me if I go and look for him straight away, let alone ask him to help me, Cyril embarrassedly continued to Gloria. I know you and he have a good relationship. I hope you can ask him to help me put in a good word with Master Rom since I am your uncle, and this incident will be resolved. Mr. Mag and I only have business dealings with each other. Your request will put me in a very difficult spot. Gloria pulled her lips into a sarcastic smirk, and said to Cyril, furthermore, don't you think it's very fake to talk about an uncle and niece relationship now? I have never seen you treat my family slightly better because I was your niece. This, Cyril paled and then blushed. After Cyril's father chose his older brother to be the successor, he wouldn't allow Cyril to touch any of the family business. Hence, Cyril could loiter around with those good-for-nothing friends. He didn't even care when his reputation suffered. Anyway, no matter how hard he tried, he was no match for his outstanding older brother. Moreover, their father had already chosen his older brother as the successor, and he had never taken a good look at Cyril. Cyril hated his older brother who gained his father's favor so easily, so after getting the chance to be the successor, he began to ask for things that he had been missing out on all these years. Cyril got up from the ground while holding onto the chair. He said to Gloria, "Tell me, what do you want me to do before you will talk to Mag for me? I've already made it very clear. Mr. Mag and I are not as close as you imagined." Gloria still rejected him with a calm expression. "I don't want to know about your relationship with him. You're already a businesswoman now, so let's talk business. What do you want to gain from me before you would help me?" Cyril said with a frown. "Perhaps you have already forgotten that I don't have to do anything to get what I want now." Gloria smiled. "Gloria, do you really think that I am dead meat this time? I'm the second young master of the Moritons, and this is Chaos City. No matter how powerful those people are, they won't dare and can't kill me." Cyril stared at Gloria with clenched fists. "I do believe that. Grandfather may use the Moriton family's influence to save you considering that you're his son. But, do you believe you would still remain on the list of successors if he really did that?" Gloria smiled at Cyril. "You are the Moriton family's second young master, so this incident will only be pinned on you alone. However, if you become the head of the Moriton family, and you do such a stupid thing again, this will be a catastrophe for us." Cyril turned white instantly. He also released his tightly clenched fists helplessly. His father didn't have a choice before, so he wouldn't punish him too harshly even when he made a mistake. However, it was different now. People were already comparing Gloria to Sheer Buffett. As they were both the eldest granddaughters of the four major families, people could find many common traits in them. This girl who had just entered the business world for a few months had already made a name for herself. Sheer Buffett had already proven that Ian Buffett's judgment was correct. Women weren't any less than men. Moreover, they could do even better than men. Cyril's father was an obstinate person, but ever since he agreed to give Gloria a chance, and even handed the textile business to her, he already had a second choice. Cyril descended into a complete panic. He took 2 steps forward, and said in a quivering voice, "Gloria, please help me. I was wrong. I promise I will never go against you again, Uncle Cyril. I suggest you better leave and think of another solution while the sun is still up." Gloria interrupted Cyril mercilessly before saying toward the door, "Send our guest out." 2 strong orc security officers came in. They coaxed and dragged Cyril out. Gloria looked at the door without any signs of elation on her face. Mars stood at the side quietly. He, too, was silent. The silence continued for a long time before Gloria softly said, "Was I too ruthless?" Mars shook his head. "Young mistress is a kind person. Given all the things that Cyril had done to you and your family in the past, you have already taken your kinship with Cyril into account by not kicking him when he was down today. But grandfather, everyone has to be responsible for their own actions. Master is a reasonable person." Gloria was thoughtful. Then, a smile appeared on her face again. As she walked out, she said, "I'm going to check on the progress of the new employees' training." Mars swiftly caught up with her with a smile, and answered, "This new batch's elves are nimble and careful. They learn very quickly even if they don't have previous training. Their skills become on par with those of the experienced tailors in only a matter of days. Their speed has even exceeded the ordinary tailors. Elves are indeed nature's favored ones. They have the natural advantages and talent for handiwork. We really have to thank the night elves for this batch of excellent workers. Gloria was surprised to hear the report. She halted after a few steps, and asked Mars, "Have we decided on the new salary model? Those who are capable should be paid more. We should give the good employees the salary that they deserve. We have basically decided on it. According to your wishes, the new factory produces clothes in a pipeline fashion. Different workshops are responsible for different procedures, and every employee is responsible for a certain part of the clothes. The salary is paid according to the number of clothes that they made. The more they do, the more they will receive." Mars nodded. "After retrenching the majority of the old tailors, our manpower cost has decreased greatly. Moreover, judging from today's test, the increase in efficiency is rather significant. It's already enough to satisfy the blue suede's demands now. Your reform solution is simply marvelous, and it solved the greatest problem of expansion." "That's great." Gloria nodded slightly and continued to walk ahead. However, she was thinking, Mr. Mag's solution is indeed awesome. What about the fabrics sales channels and farms? Gloria asked again after walking a few more steps. "According to your instructions, the fabrics sales channels everywhere are conducting a large-scale retrenchment now. They're only retaining the core sales team in every city. All the fabric stores are trying to clear their inventories as much as they can right now. After deducting the retrenchment payouts, we've got back quite a big sum of cash. As for the farms, we have shut down a batch of them that were badly run, and had been losing money for a long time. We've sold a few farms that were profitable. We only retained the farms focused on growing cotton. The first set of funds meant to expand the scale of cotton growing is already sent to the farms. Many farm owners whose farms had been shut down or sold were looking for you recently, but I have stopped them all. Many of them are members of the Moraton family." Mars perplexedly asked Gloria, "However, young mistress, please pardon me for asking this, but if you want to close down the fabric shops, why are you still keeping the core sales team in every city? Why are you still expanding the scale of cotton growing? The Moraton family's textile industry has accumulated a ton of problems over the years. In order to expand our market shares in the past, we had opened so many shops everywhere with no regards to the cost. Many of these shops are not even 100 meters away from one another. We have too much frontline sales personnel, and there is serious corruption among them. This costs a huge sum in expenditures every month. Everything has been living off the blood and sweat of the other Moraton's businesses, and it is barely afloat," Gloria calmly said. "Grandfather has already decided to shut down the production completely. He's simply giving me 3 months' time to save this business. If I don't have a ruthless determination, it's only going to extend their lifespans for another 3 months." Master started his business empire with the textile business then, and he was even called the King of Textiles. The Moraton family's textile business current mess was caused by many complicated reasons. Some were within the family, while others were external. The rapid expansion to open shops was one, the loss of control of the shops was another one. But the crux is the rapid development of the Roth Empire's textile industry in the past 10 years. With their cheap labor and massive textile manufacturing systems, they managed to grab a huge share of the market on the Norland continent. The Moraton family couldn't even keep its market share in Chaos City, Mars lamented. Master had even tried to carry out a few reforms personally a few years ago, but they all ended in failure. Hence, it's extremely difficult to turn the losses into profits in 3 months' time. Chapter 1660 I'm just a silly doorman. Cyril glared at the tightly shut doors and the 2 orc guards who escorted him out as he screamed hysterically. The honest-looking orc shook his head. "I'm just a doorman who is sad every day. My wages are only enough for breakfast, and love has nothing to do with me. I'm just a silly doorman, and I don't know who you are." The other doorman took out a bag of teddy biscuits out of nowhere, and began munching as he murmured, "I am a doorman who loves to eat teddy biscuits." Cyril clenched his fists as he stared at the two security officers who didn't give a damn about him. He was so furious, yet there was nothing he could do. This was Gloria's factory, and they were Gloria's people. He indeed couldn't do anything to them. "All right, Gloria. I have finally seen through you. I'm definitely not going to let your family have any good time if I survive this ordeal and become the head of the Moreton family." Cyril got into his carriage in a huff. The coachman gingerly asked, "Young master, where do we go now?" Cyril scratched his head in the carriage for a long time before he gravely said, "To Mamie Restaurant. If an ordinary solution is used to rebuild the Moreton family's textile systems, how am I, an inexperienced person, going to succeed when even grandfather has failed?" Gloria shook her head with a smile. "The objective of shutting down and selling all the weaving and spinning businesses is to make the Moreton family's textile business into an asset-light business. The sales network that has been operating for decades is the valuable part in the entire industrial chain. This is also why I kept the core sales in all the cities." Mars responded, "However, we will have nothing to sell if we close all the production lines. Won't the sales network become useless then?" Gloria smiled. "Mr. Mag's textile factory has been up and running for some time. I went to inspect it a few days ago. Its annual output is even higher than that of all our weaving workshops combined, and its fabric quality is much better. Are you planning to work with Mr. Mag? Are we going to use our sales channels to help him sell fabrics?" Mars looked very shocked. He had known about Gloria and Mag's collaboration for a long time, and had even interacted with Mr. Mag a few times. He was very impressed by the latter's wisdom and unique business insights. Mars even thought that Mag would have been a greater business prodigy than Sheer Buffett if he hadn't been held back by cooking. Mr. Mag, who was their fashion designer, definitely deserved the most credit for Blue Suede's rapid rise as the #1 female apparel brand in Chaos City. However, he didn't expect Mr. Mag to venture in the textile industry so quickly. Furthermore, the new factory had already achieved the combined output of all the Moreton family's weaving workshops. "Yes. Mr. Mag will sell the high-quality fabrics to us at a price that is lower than the market price, and then we will sell them all over the world with our sales channels." Gloria nodded. "What is that price approximately?" Mars pursued. He was worried that Gloria, who had just taken over the textile business, had stepped into a trap. "It's 30% lower than the cost price of our factories in the Roth Empire." 30%? Mars screeched. He halted and stared at Gloria in disbelief. "You are saying it's 30% lower than the cost price, and not the sales price?" Gloria nodded with a smile. "Yes. It's 30% lower than the cost price. Furthermore, Mr. Mag said that if we could supply them with high-quality cotton at a low price, he could even forego another 10% of the price. Thus, you kept all the farms that grow the cotton. You gave them the funds to buy more land, and asked them all to plant the best cotton plants." Mars was enlightened, and he said to Gloria with amazement, "I didn't know that young mistress has already begun an important collaboration with Mr. Mag. If we can get high-quality fabrics and cotton yarn at such a low price, then we will gain a huge competitive advantage in every market in the world with the price." Gloria nodded. "Mr. Mag made a request while giving us such a good discount. He and I will both invest and set up a fabric brand. We will share this brand and its profits. This is a reasonable request." Mars nodded. With a low price, it would not be difficult if Mag decided to break into the market himself. He simply needed some time. He'd chosen to collaborate with Gloria, and had shown such sincerity by setting up a brand and investing in it together, their collaboration would also be so much more closely knitted. "After we clear and close all the shops of the brands under our umbrella, we can start to plan how to distribute the goods for the new brand. We are not going to set up too many stores this time round. We will only open big stores, and promote our products with their low price so we can lower the cost of our manpower while increasing our sales volume. Gloria chuckled. Mr. Mag said that as long as we can make the sales, he could double his output anytime. Mr. Mag is really a genius. Mars was already more than amazed with him. The Moritans had been trying to lower the cost and increase the output for decades to no avail, but it became as easy as child's play with Mag. Mr. Mag and I have agreed to hand over the goods early next month. Before that, we will need to come up with the funds, and make sure that our sales teams are ready to market the new brand. Gloria looked at Mars. Whether we can turn the textile business losses into profits within 3 months will all depend on this. Mr. Mag, help me. Please help me. When Mag opened the door, he was stunned to see Cyril bowing and pleading earnestly. Something was not right. What was wrong with this Moritan family's second young master who always looked down on Mag, and insulted the latter in the Chamber of Commerce's annual meetings? Did I get the wrong person? Mag tried to ask. No, you didn't. I'm Cyril. The Cyril that you know. Cyril quickly shook his head, and cried to Mr. Mag, Mr. Mag, I came to ask you for help today. Mag rolled his eyes, and asked, do you really think that I will help you? Cyril, who had been building up his emotions, suddenly choked on the words that he had prepared to say as he stared at Mag. Hey, the other party wasn't playing by the rules. Why did he speak like that? He wasn't giving Cyril a chance to talk at all. Chapter 1661. I've also once wanted to roam the world with a sword. Mag didn't really like the Moritan family, was a little unhappy with that old-fashioned president, and he really couldn't be bothered with Cyril, who suddenly appeared to show off his IQ. However, if he had the chance, he wouldn't mind lifting his foot up to kill that disgusting cockroach. Of course, the most important thing was that if Cyril fell from grace, the heir would definitely be Gloria. Mag was quite fond of this smart lady, and had decided to forge a deep friendship with her. Of course, it was only in the business aspect. Although Gloria was still inadequate in many ways compared to Sheer, Mag would rather interact with Gloria, whose wings weren't fully developed yet, than with the overly shrewd Sheer. Men all prefer things they raised themselves. Cyril looked at Mag vengefully. This fellow's disgusting tricks were just like Gloria's. However, he could not blow up, and was even afraid to infuriate Mag at this juncture. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't be able to live past tonight if Mag bad-mouthed him in front of Master Rom. Mr. Mag, I was at fault previously for enraging you time and again. I would hereby like to express my most sincere apology, and hope that you will not take it against me, and will put in a few good words for me in front of Master Rom, Cyril begged with a crying face. After that, he added, I hope that you can help me on account of Gloria. I know you are quite close to her. I am her uncle, and I heard that you are still single. I can also be your wingman. Mag looked at Cyril in shock. What is going on? After failing to ask for help, he's trying to sell his niece now? Hold on. Who said that I'm still single? My daughter is already 4. Do you think I could have her myself? Mag pressed his lips together, and looked at Cyril with a mocking smile as he said, also, Miss Gloria and I have the most innocent business partner relationship. We are quite close, and if I helped you, wouldn't I be breaking that relationship? This matter concerns the Moritan family's safety. Gloria is also on my side, Cyril quickly said. Are you a fool, or do you think I'm a fool? Mag shut the door with a loud thud, and could not be bothered with Cyril anymore. Mag had witnessed Master Rom's influence. When he was at Eason Castle, there would always be powerhouses lining up outside, begging for a weapon, and he was known as the dwarf that you could not offend because there would always be a group of crazy bodyguards finding a chance to curry favor with him. Cyril, however, jumped out on his own to become the jester to let others claim the credit. Mag didn't think that Cyril would really be hacked to death. The city lord would never let something like that happen on account of the Moreton family. However, no one would let it slide so easily. Cyril would have to lose a layer of skin even if he didn't die. As for whether Geoffrey would still allow him to be a candidate to the heir of the Moreton family, it would have to depend on whether he really wanted to let Gloria take the helm. Interesting. Mag went back to his seat with a smile. The teapot on the little stove was still steaming. He picked up the Master of Secrets that he was reading halfway, and continued reading. This book was really a good read compared to the Thulhu Mythos series. Darn! Cyril punched the tree by the restaurant with an ashen face as the veins on his forehead popped out. After meeting with setbacks from Gloria and Mag, Cyril started to feel anxious as he saw the sun starting to set and the line forming in front of the restaurant. It seemed too late to find someone to get him connections now. Cyril looked at the customers chatting merrily at the door. He clenched his fists, and thought to himself, it seems like I'll have to apologize to that old fogey. I only have a single chance. I must get his forgiveness. Master Ram, we've already confirmed the place for the forging shop. There will be workers building the new forging shop based on your requirements. If you need anything, you can send someone to look for me. The city lord's castle will do its best to help you. Dicus looked at Ram with a smile, and said, the city lord has organized a banquet tonight. I thank the city lord for his help, but there's no need to trouble the city lord with the banquet. I'll just settle for something at Mamie restaurant. I appreciate the kind intention, Ram rejected with a smile. The city lord knows that the food at the city lord's castle isn't good enough for you, so he has organized a banquet at Mamie restaurant to welcome you. This is a private banquet, so he will only bring his family along, Dicus said with a smile. Upon hearing that, Ram nodded with a smile, and said, in that case, it would not be nice of me to reject. Of course, I would also like to thank Sir Michael personally for helping me with the things regarding the forging shop. Father, is the person we're going to meet today really Master Ram who made the Tiandu sword? Vivian asked Michael excitedly. Yes. The location for Master Ram's new forging shop had been confirmed. It's near Aden Square. Michael nodded with a smile. Then can he also make me a sword too? Vivian asked expectantly. I thought you've stopped practicing your swordsmanship for years. But I've also once wanted to roam the world with a sword, Vivian said softly. Besides, showing off a sword that's of the same league as the Tiandu sword is so impressive. There are so many swordsmen who begged in vain for a weapon. Even 10th tier powerhouses don't get a chance, but a lass like you is asking for it so blatantly. How fearless! Michael let out a speechless laugh. I see. I was just kidding. It's not very convenient to go shopping with a sword. I was just kidding, Vivian stuck her tongue out, and then curiously asked, since Master Ram is so great, why did he come to Chaos City? Yet, you've written him a letter years ago, and were rejected, right? Michael's wife, who was sitting in front of him, asked curiously. We'll have to credit Boss Mag for being able to attract such a legendary forging master like Master Ram, Michael said with a smile. Boss Mag! Vivian exclaimed. What did he do? According to Master Ram himself, he came to Chaos City because it was more convenient for him to have Boss Mag's steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, Michael said with a smile. This reason is very believable. Vivian nodded with understanding. If it were me, I would also move over to Chaos City to be able to have spicy grilled fish every day no matter how far it was. This Boss Mag is quite capable, the city lord's wife said with a smile as she covered her mouth. Vivian's eyes suddenly lit up. Smiling, she said, Hey! Father, since Boss Mag could even make Master Ram come to Chaos City, why don't you get him to try getting talents from other fields to Chaos City as well? For example, the master from the demon tribe who's good at calculus, the fighting master from the orc tribe. Chapter 1662. Aren't you the grandpa who sells cleavers at Eason Castle? That is a good idea. There hasn't been a continent-wide skills competition before. If we organize it, we can invite the cream of the crop from every industry to join the competition. Michael's eyes lit up excitedly. Yes, yes. We can even organize a God of Cookery competition, and invite all the famous chefs on the Norland continent to fight for the title of the God of Cookery. That would definitely attract a lot of people. Not only could it increase Chaos City's influence, if there were people who choose to stay, we could also increase our population and strength, Vivian agreed. Didn't we agree that we were all going to go out for dinner as a family, and we'd not talk about work? The city lord's wife looked at the father and daughter duo who got increasingly excited. She rolled her eyes at Michael, and said, "You can even talk about work with Vivian even if you didn't bring your subordinates out." With a smile, Michael said, "I didn't expect Vivian to be so sharp, and she gave me a lot of inspiration. I'm even thinking of getting her a role as a secretary at the city lord's castle. The addition of new blood might give those old folks some new ideas." Vivian quickly shook her head, and declared, "That won't do. I'm already prepared to join the interview for Chaos School. I want to be like Luna and do something for education. I won't be joining you, adults, in politics. Don't you get cocky. Chaos School will not let you have it easy just because you're the young mistress of the city lord's castle. You're already so confident with just that amount of preparation time." The city lord's wife doused a bucket of cold water over Vivian's passion. "Mother," Vivian pouted with grievance. "How could that be? Our Vivian is so outstanding. Although she might be a little quirky, she's more well-read than most teachers in Chaos School, and is very knowledgeable. On top of that, she has a sincere heart for education. I believe she will get through with no problem at all," Michael said while looking at Vivian dotingly. "Hee. Father knows me best." Vivian quickly put on a smile, and even started making faces at her mother. "You can continue spoiling her," the city lord's wife said with a smile. "She's my only daughter. Whom do I spoil if not her?" Michael said matter-of-factly. The horse-drawn carriage came to a stop very quickly, and the coachman's voice came from outside. "Sir, we've arrived at Mamie Restaurant. Let's go. Honey, today I'll let you try Boss Mag's culinary skills." Michael stood up with a smile. "Mother, the spicy grilled fish is superb. Today you'll find out that I wasn't boasting at all," Vivian said in a rather proud tone. "All right, let's alight." The city lord's wife held Vivian's hand with a smile, and said, "Let's not talk about how the food tastes for now. Today, I have to thank Mr. Mag personally for curing your illness. He's your savior. We're indebted to him, and we should never forget that." The horse-drawn carriage from the city lord's castle had stopped by the side, but there seemed to be quite some people crowding around, looking at something behind the long line. "Master Rom, I was wrong. I was short-sighted, and didn't know better. Please forgive me for my impudence this afternoon." Cyril was standing beside Master Rom, bowing so deeply his head was almost touching the ground. His voice was a little shaky, and his face was flushed red. The customers in the line, and even some passers-by, crowded over to watch. Most customers quickly identified Cyril as the cocky one who wanted to hire Master Rom, but they did not expect him to suddenly change his stance, begging for the master's forgiveness in such a lowly way. At this moment, Cyril only wanted to find a hole to hide in. He was considered quite a public figure in Chaos City's business field, and he was once regarded as the next leader of the Moraton family. However, he was bowing down low to a dwarf, apologizing and begging for his forgiveness now. "You're going to give up on the deal?" Master Rom looked at Cyril with a smile. "I wouldn't dare not to. I was blind. I beg you to forgive me with magnanimity this time." Cyril felt his face burning. He sneaked a glance at Rom. If he couldn't get his forgiveness today, he might not be able to sleep tonight. Forgiveness. Rom looked at Cyril. He didn't really take to heart what Cyril did this afternoon. It was considered a rather novel experience for him since he hadn't met anyone like that in Eason Castle. However, he could probably guess the reason Cyril came back with an apology after leaving. Although it was not his intention, those people who wanted a weapon from him were always trying to find ways to please him, and that was why there was a period of time no one dared to pass by his forging shop at Eason Castle. They were afraid that even a glance would land them with a crime of disrespecting the master, and they might get caught and thrown in front of Master Rom. He wasn't sure how many of those people had followed him over to Chaos City, but he could be certain that this tradition would continue. Since it was his first time at Chaos City, Rom did not want to cause a ruckus and make things difficult for the city lord's castle. Therefore, he was going to accept Cyril's apology and move on. "Hey, aren't you the grandpa who sells cleavers at Eason Castle? What are you doing at Chaos City?" Just then, a gentle voice sounded from the side. Rom turned to look in the direction of the voice, and saw a young lady who was squeezing her way through the crowd. She was wearing a white fluffy down jacket, and her two braids were swinging from left to right as she skipped around. Her cute little face was filled with shock and surprise. It was Mag's cute daughter. Geez, when everyone heard that, they took a deep breath of cold air in. The little boss actually called Master Rom the grandpa who sells cleavers. How insulting! Master Rom was titled the Norland continent's best blacksmith, and to say that he was someone who sold cleavers was akin to scolding him. Great, this is a chance for me to shine. Mag, I bet it's your turn to cry. Cyril's eyes lit up when he heard the voice. He glanced over and saw Amy, who was skipping over. He stood right up, and bellowed, "Outrageous! Lass, hey, it's little Amy. You've grown a little taller." Before Cyril could speak further, Rom was already looking at Amy with a pampering look and smile as he said, "The cleavers aren't selling well, so I came over to Chaos City to sell them. It's all right. I'll get father to buy a few more." Amy looked at Rom, and comforted, "We might not have steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, but we will always have bread." Everyone's eyes gaped widely at this scene. Why isn't it going as it should be? Cyril was also in disbelief as he looked at Master Rom smiling benevolently, and felt as though a fishbone got stuck in his throat. Yet, only the little boss can make the legendary weaponsmith call himself a cleaver seller. You're right when you're cute. Everyone talked among themselves softly as they looked at Amy with a smile. Cyril stood at the side awkwardly, and forgot to shut his mouth, which he had opened wide in shock. At that moment, he was so flustered he didn't even know where to put his hands. He thought that this little brat's mindless words would infuriate Master Rom, and that would give him a chance to perform. However, he didn't expect Master Rom and this little brat to know each other. "Isn't this the hateful uncle?" Amy turned her head to look at Cyril after greeting Rom and frowned. "Little Amy, do you know him?" Rom, who was already going to forgive Cyril, asked with a smile. Him. This uncle is super hateful. He even made things difficult for the kind teacher Luna and the beautiful big sister Gloria. Anyway, he's just a bad guy through and through," Amy said in disdain with a nod. Cyril stared wide-eyed at Amy. He didn't expect to suddenly receive such a huge blow at this important juncture. "Master Rom, hear me out. Things aren't like what she said. I am actually a nice guy," Cyril quickly explained. "Tisk. He's no nice guy. He's simply an old wastrel, and is very hateful," Vivian said with disdain with her lips pressed together as she squeezed in. "Looks like Jeffrey's going to have a headache," Michael said with a smile. Rom looked at Cyril and frowned slightly. It looked like this fellow was worse than he thought. It was not a coincidence that he behaved so cockily in front of him. If it weren't that he was afraid of being hammered to death by Rom's followers, he probably wouldn't be here apologizing so sincerely. Cyril's heart pounded quickly. His legs were already shaking, and he almost could not hold back the urge to kneel. Although I don't know you, it seems that whatever you did wasn't in a moment of folly. As an adult, you should be responsible for your own actions. Ram looked at Cyril, who had his knees bent to kneel, calmly. Then, he added, also, I hate it when people won't stop bugging me, especially men. Either you leave on your own, or wait for someone to chase you away. Cyril straightened his bent knees, and died a little inside. He glanced at Joey and Joss on his left and right, and knew that he was done for. He bowed to Ram, and quickly walked towards his horse-drawn carriage. He had to go home immediately right now because that was the safest place to be. Everyone watched Cyril leave sorely. He was really done for this time. Master Ram's words were akin to sealing his coffin up with a few more iron nails hammered in. Master Ram, it's been a while. Michael brought Vivian and his wife forward. City Lord. Everyone noticed the City Lord's family and bowed in respect. Ram also smiled and nodded to Michael as he said, Sir, it's been a while. Dispense with ceremony. I came here today to eat. I'm Mamie Restaurant's customer just like everyone else. Michael waved his hand with a smile, and told Ram, I will be lining up at the back first. We'll talk again inside. Sir, please, go ahead and stand in front. We can be behind you. The customers standing behind all stepped back, and made a space behind Master Rom. You don't have to make way for me. We will line up as per the rules. Michael waved with a smile. Chaos City is a city with rules, and Mamie Restaurant is a restaurant with rules. We'll follow the rules. Upon hearing that, everyone smiled. They were all very willing to abide by Mamie Restaurant's rules. Everyone came together to create and maintain a very special atmosphere because of the delicious food. Over here, racial tensions and status differences seemed to have become insignificant. It was because of those strict yet acceptable rules, and also because of the delicacies that made one feel blissful. Hello big sister Vivian, Uncle City Lord, and beautiful auntie. Amy greeted them. After that, she bade Ram farewell, and skipped towards the entrance of the restaurant. What a cute little girl! The City Lord's wife, Monica, watched Amy skip off. She's Boss Mag's daughter, Amy, and is also the little boss of Mamie Restaurant. On top of that, she's also Luna's student, and is truly the treasure of Mamie Restaurant, Vivian introduced. How cute! She's way cuter than you when you were young, Monica said enviously. Her mother must be elated to have such a cute girl. Mother, I'm still a baby, Vivian said with complicated feelings. Michael turned his head, and said, Says who? I think our Vivian was very cute when she was little. Look at her large eyes, large nose, large ears. All right, father, you can shut up now. Vivian rolled her eyes. Am I a pig? Exactly. There was a period when you kept calling yourself Piggy Girl when you were young, Monica said with a chuckle as she covered her mouth, as though she had thought of something funny. I can attest to that. Your mother isn't lying, Michael agreed. All right, all right. I know. Luckily, I wasn't born in winter. Otherwise, I would start suspecting that I was picked up from the snow, Vivian said helplessly. Even if you weren't picked up from the snow, you could also be picked up from the bin, Monica reminded her daughter with a laugh. Vivian paused in her tracks, and looked at Monica as she seriously said, Mother, I'm not bringing you here anymore. Then I'll have no choice but to come with my husband, Monica said with a smile as she wrapped her arms around Michael's arm. Michael shrugged to express that there was nothing he could do about it. Vivian looked at them, and fell silent for a while. After that, she said, All right, if that's the case, I'll join you guys. She put on a bright smile and held Monica's arm. When the time comes, it will happen. Mag watched Cyril escape sorely in his horse-drawn carriage inside the restaurant, and shook his head with a smile. Amy's coincidental stirring had dashed Cyril's last hope of solving the problem on his own. Now, he could only return to face Jeffrey's rage. Amy walked into the restaurant, and hung her bag on Ugly Duckling. She looked up at Meg, and said, "Father, I met the grandpa who was selling cleavers outside the restaurant. He's so pitiful. He traveled such a long distance to sell cleavers. Why don't we buy a few more cleavers from him?" Chapter 1664. It's probably Little Red Riding Hood. However, he didn't expect Master Rom to just be a grandpa selling cleavers to Amy. It seemed like there was a need to find an appropriate time to introduce some of the people around her. Otherwise, she might think that her masters were just a grandpa selling magic potions and an idle grandpa. "I see," Amy thought for a while, and said, "Then I'll convince him to sell a few more cleavers to us." "All right, as long as you can successfully convince him. It would be best if he could make you a weapon," Mag said with a smile. "Weapon? I think the magic wand that Master gave me is pretty good." Amy looked at Mag in bewilderment. "That's just a basic weapon that you can use when you are growing before you become a great magic caster. However, after you become even stronger, it will not be sufficient for your abilities," Mag continued with a smile. "Although that is a custom-made weapon your master made for you, if Master Rom can make you a weapon, that weapon will be the one that you can use for your entire life." "So do I have to use a cleaver when I grow up?" Amy asked after thinking seriously. "Ahem," Mag let out a dry cough. He could not help but stroke Amy's head with a smile as he said, "All right, now it's still too early to think about that. Go and play with Ugly Duckling." Meow. Ugly Duckling, who was at the side with Amy's bag, shook its tail in bewilderment. It used its head to caress Amy's calf and lay on her foot, rolling around coquettishly. "Stupid Ugly Duckling! You dropped my bag on the floor," Amy said in disdain as she kicked Ugly Duckling aside, and picked her bag up. Meow. Ugly Duckling lay on the floor, facing up innocently. "Am I not cuter than a bag?" "No, thank you." Amy rolled her eyes at it. Meow. Ugly Duckling covered its eyes sorrowfully. "Although it does seem pretty weird to be using a cleaver, since Father said that I'll have to use the weapon made by Cleaver Grandpa when I grow up, I'll get him to make one for me. I just don't know if my masters would be angry." Amy put her bag behind the counter, and pondered seriously with her chin propped on her hand. Mia and Babla arrived at the restaurant earlier, and they were chatting while waiting for dinner to be ready. "What do young ladies talk about usually?" Babla asked curiously. Everyone exchanged gazes and fell silent. Everyone was a young lady, but none of them were considered ordinary young ladies. Yabimiya had been oppressed for years in the kitchen. Babla had been living a life of luxury in the Moon Nation. Elizabeth had been loaded with responsibilities and hatred since she was young. Gina had only been learning magic since she was young. Jane had been working hard just to survive on Carapace Island. Angela was also not considered a qualified succubus. As for Camilla, she was probably no longer a young lady. If they were to think about it strictly, only Rena could be considered an ordinary young lady. However, she was currently making the hot pot soup base in the kitchen, so she did not join the conversation. "I just got home from school, and heard the big sisters on the streets talk about body figures." Amy looked at everyone with a smile, and said, "So I guess that's what young ladies talk about? Body figures." Upon hearing that, everyone looked around, and their gaze paused at a certain body part of theirs before stealthily moving on to the next person. Babla shrank back a little. She suddenly regretted asking that question. Big Sister Mia's figure is great. Although she looks thin, her lines are beautiful. The most important thing is, she actually has boobs. Ferris peeked out and looked at Mia enviously. "So do I." Gina sat up straight to bring out her full figure. "Me too." Angela stood up confidently. Elizabeth crossed her arms without saying a word, but the silence was more than enough. Jane looked at everyone, and only realized that all of them had such good figures. Babla looked at everyone, and suddenly became depressed as she muttered under her breath, "I'm still growing." Everyone burst into laughter, and the atmosphere became light once again. Babla bit her lip, and didn't feel like she was mocked. She was just a little bewildered. If Mia and the rest were considered ladies with good figures, what was her figure? It's all right. Babla is still a small girl. Just have some more tofu pudding every day, and you will grow even faster, Mia encouraged as she put her arm around Babla's shoulder. Our school's vice headmaster is 68 this year, and her figure is almost the same as big sister Babla's, Amy reminded. Everyone was stunned. After that, a roar of laughter erupted. Babla slowly raised her brow. She suddenly felt a sense of crisis. If this had nothing to do with age, then she was not going to grow anymore? Mag could not help but smile when he heard the ladies' laughter and joyous chattering from the kitchen. However, it did not seem too appropriate for him to join this conversation, so he continued to grind his beans quietly. The topics of young ladies naturally didn't just stop at body figure. There were also fashion, relationships, childhood stories, future dreams and aspirations, whether they want to have children. They could talk about life, talk about dreams, and talk the day away. It was just that the lives of the ladies in the restaurant were too simple. Of course, the most important thing was that they were not good conversation starters. That was why they could only continue dwelling on topics such as whose figure was better. Everyone could have sat down and talked about interesting things that happened in their tribes. For example, the heroic story of how the Frost Dragon tribe's previous chief got the position, or the story of how the new vampire ancestors started eating grass, or even some of the sad stories of the succubus tribe's rise and fall. These were all topics that could go on for 3 days and 3 nights, and they definitely would not be boring. Seems like I'll have to find some time to do a team bonding for the restaurant's staff to teach these ladies who aren't good at making friends how to carry a conversation, Mag thought to himself. Tomorrow will be an off day, but it's the day of Mana Hot Pot restaurant. The team bonding will have to wait. Dinner's ready. Everyone, get ready to eat. Mag walked out of the kitchen with a tray of food. Everyone automatically went to help. Babla looked at Mag and hesitated for a very long time before asking, "Boss, what's my figure considered?" Mag glanced at Irina, thought very seriously while looking at Babla, and said, "It's probably Little Red Riding Hood." Little Red Riding Hood. Babla was bewildered. The others also looked at Mag in bewilderment. What did that mean? Little Red Riding Hood is really pitiful. Her grandma got eaten up by the wolf, Amy mumbled as she bit into a drumstick. Camilla glanced at Mag as she thought to herself, this fellow is not upright indeed. However, Irina had a meaningful smile on her face. She didn't expect him to already learn how to talk like that. That's right. Let's eat. Mag nodded as he stifled his laughter, and picked up his chopsticks to start eating. Strange. Babla frowned. She still didn't understand what was going on, so she just picked up her chopsticks and started eating too. Father, I was wrong. Please save me. Please save me. The moment Cyril returned to Moreton Manor, he scurried into the study room, and knelt in front of Geoffrey, hugging his leg and crying loudly. Geoffrey watched him coldly and silently. Gloria refused to help me. She could have spoken up for me, but she didn't because of her own selfish reasons. She shut up. Can you be a human? Geoffrey kicked Cyril away, and looked at him coldly as he said, it's the trouble that you've caused. What rights do you have to want Gloria to speak up and settle it for you? Is it because you have been taking extra care of them as an uncle? Or do you think that you're such a big shot everyone has to be at your bidding? Cyril was a little dazed after being kicked. He recovered his senses after a while, and quickly said with a shake of his head, "No, father, listen to me, shut up. Since Master Ram doesn't accept your apology, that means that you have to bear the consequences. This is a fact that you cannot change no matter how you try to shirk responsibility, Geoffrey interrupted Cyril. Father, save me. I really know my mistakes. Please speak up for me. The Moraton family is one of the 4 major families in Chaos City, and you are the president of the Chamber of Commerce. As long as you ask the city lord for a favor, he would definitely close an eye to this incident. Cyril was so anxious his tears started falling again. From today onwards, I will remove all your duties to the family, and take back all the assets under your name. You're not allowed out of the house for half a year, and your household allowance will be changed to 5,000 copper coins, Geoffrey announced coldly. Cyril was stunned. He exclaimed, Father, you're so ruthless. If you hadn't been my son, I would have kicked you out right now, Geoffrey said coldly. Cyril looked at the cold gaze in Geoffrey's eyes, and felt his heart die a little. He swallowed the words that he was about to say. He was confident that Geoffrey was capable of doing that. If Cyril was kicked out of the house right now, the next thing he knew, he might die somewhere on the streets. Yes. Cyril got up and dragged himself out of the study. To have all his duties removed, have his assets taken away, and be confined in the house for half a year basically meant that he had already been disqualified as an heir. He could not understand how he ended up like this when he had only just started the war with Gloria. Mannered. Go to the city lord's castle on my behalf, Geoffrey said calmly as he watched the chief secretary enter the study room. Sir, about Cyril's case, Dicus said softly as he arrived in front of Michael. Hold on. Michael shook his head a little. Dicus got the hint, and greeted Monica and Vivian before going back to the line without saying another word. The restaurant door opened slowly, and Mag walked out to greet and welcome the customers in with a smile. Sir, ma'am, Mag greeted with a smile as Michael and his family walked in. You're just gonna ignore me? I'm Luna's best friend, Vivian complained. This blockhead just doesn't get it. If you want to get a girl, you'll have to first settle her best friend. Is Miss Vivian here for the grilled fish again? Mag asked with a smile. Of course. Absolutely right. Vivian nodded. Mr. Mag. I haven't had the chance to thank you personally for treating Vivian. Today, I would like to express my sincere gratitude, Monica said with a slight bow. The other customers were all shocked when they saw this scene. Upon hearing what the city lord's wife said, they all wondered, was Mr. Mag even Miss Vivian's benefactor? In that case, Mamie Restaurant would have the city lord as their backing as well. Ma'am, you're exaggerating. Mag quickly waved his hands. He knew that Vivian came for the spicy grilled fish not just because it was delicious, but he had never thought of receiving any special word of thanks for that. However, with her actions today at the restaurant door, the city lord's wife had told the entire world that the city lord's castle would be backing up Mamie Restaurant, preventing any other troubles from happening. Michael and his family walked straight to Master Ram's table after entering the restaurant. Master Ram, allow me to introduce. This is my wife, Monica, and this is my daughter, Vivian, Michael said with a smile as he sat beside Rom. Hello, Master Ram, I am very honored to meet you, Monica said with a smile. Master Ram, I am your ardent fan, and I really idolize you. Vivian looked at Ram with gleaming eyes, and was thinking if she should try asking him to help her make a sword. Hello, ma'am. Ram smiled and nodded at Monica. After that, he looked at Vivian as he said, what a beautiful girl. You take after your mother. Thankfully so, Michael said with a smile. That's what I think too. Vivian nodded in agreement. After that, she opened the menu, and said, let's start ordering. I can't wait for the spicy grilled fish. I agree. I can't wait to have the steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers. Ram nodded, and added, a single serving. All right. I will order an additional set of steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers for you. Then, we can have a large size of the Insa medium spicy grilled fish. As for the rest, Vivian turned the menu and pushed it to Monica. Mother, since it's your first time here, you can choose. What a special menu! Are the pictures here what the real dish looks like? They seem very appetizing. Monica's eyes lit up upon seeing the pictures on the menu. These aren't able to fully display their beauty. The delicacies Boss Mag makes all look and taste good. He's simply a meticulous artist. Perfect. Vivian pointed at the tofu pudding, and suggested, you can give this a try. This is awesome. After having this, not only would your skin become fairer and nicer, even your scars would be removed. Meanwhile, Dicus and Rom's two disciples sat at the next table and ate quietly. Joss and Joey weren't surprised that their master could chat with the Chaos City Lord so amicably. After all the people who were lining up in front of the workshop were all powerhouses from all the tribes. Boss Mag is indeed the #1 chef in Chaos City. Be it the tofu pudding or the grilled fish, their taste is equally shocking and mesmerizing, Monica lamented. This was her first visit to Mamie Restaurant. She had only heard Vivian heap praises on it before. She only understood that all her praises were truthful after tasting the dishes herself today. Hee. I didn't lie to you, right? I'll bring you along next time, Vivian said proudly, as if she was showing off something very remarkable. Are you trying to make me foot the bill for you? Monica chuckled. Of course not, Vivian popped a piece of grilled fish into her mouth, and pretended that she didn't understand anything. Michael smiled at Master Rom. Come to speak of it, the weapons rankings have not changed for many years. I wonder when Master Rom wants to update it. The Norland continent's weapons rankings had existed for 100 years. They recorded all the top weapons on the continent. They had always been reviewed by the Forging Association. This was a very stable ranking as legendary weapons were not that easily forged, after all. Meanwhile, Master Rom was this ranking's greatest variable. Every time he released a new weapon, there would be a change in this ranking. Sometimes, it would even change the status of the top 10 weapons. However, 5 or 6 years had passed since Master Rom had last forged a new weapon. There were still many people lining up in front of the workshop during these years, but there was no news of him promising to forge a weapon for anyone. Therefore, some rumors began to appear. Some said that Master Rom had exhausted his talent, and could no longer forge better weapons. There were also some people saying that Master Rom was too old, and could no longer swing his hammer. Some were saying that Master Rom's memory was getting bad, and he most probably couldn't forge new weapons anymore. There were many rumors, but none was verified. So, it made people very curious. Michael had met Master Rom over 20 years ago. Apart from being slightly older, the latter still looked energetic, agile, and healthy to him today. He didn't look like he couldn't swing the hammer or had bad memory. As for talent, if Master Rom lost his talent, there probably were no talented forgers left in this world anymore. Therefore, Michael was only curious when Master Rom was going to create his next weapon. He had no doubts that his next weapon was still going to get onto weapons rankings. I'm still thinking about it. Maybe I'll create it, or maybe I'll not. Let's see what fate brings us. A good weapon has to meet the right person too. Rom smiled, shaking his head. Fate is indeed too marvelous to describe. Michael smiled too. He didn't think that Rom was showing off at all. The Tiandu sword wasn't custom-made for Mag Alex by Master Rom. This sword had been passed down in the Alex family for over 200 years before Mag Alex used this sword to vanquish countless enemies ranging from the dragons in the sky to the demons in the sea. Only then did this sword advance from 100-odd position to the top 3 in the weapons rankings. Regardless of how excellent a weapon was, without an owner who was the right fit for it, it would only be a piece of art that was collecting dust. Vivian put down the chopsticks, and expectantly asked Rom, Master, do you think I look like the fated person? Miss Vivian is someone who doesn't even need to use a chef's knife, so you won't get to use it even if you are fated. Rom smiled. All right. Seems like I'm not fated enough. Vivian shrugged. She wasn't disappointed, as she indeed wasn't strong enough to swing a sword, and she was not going to use a chef's knife anyway. Dicus went out in the middle of the meal, and soon returned to whisper into Michael's ear. Michael nodded slightly, and then smiled at ROM Master Rom. Although I have invited you for a personal dinner today, I do have a favor to ask of you. Please say it, my lord. Rom nodded. Michael smilingly said, the person who offended you today was Geoffrey Moreton's second son. The Moreton family is one of the Chaos City's 4 major families, and Geoffrey has made a lot of contribution to the city's development as the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I knew that son loved to make trouble and deserved to be taught a lesson for offending you, but as you know, your followers will do anything just to get into your good books, so I would like to ask you to forgive him here. With regard to teaching him a lesson, we will let his father do it. May I know, is it all right with you? So it's about this incident. Since my lord believes that his father will be able to teach him a lesson, of course I'm not going to teach someone else's son for him. Rom nodded, and tilted his head to say to Joss sitting at the side, make a trip to the new workshop, and tell them what I said. This incident is considered over. Yes. Joss strode toward the door with a Rugiamo in his hand. Thank you very much. Michael cupped his hands. It's only a small matter. Rom smiled and shook his head as he picked up a piece of steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, and put it into his bowl. Mars strode in, turned to Gloria, who was poring over the ledger, and seriously said, Young mistress, we've just received news from the residents. Cyril has been relieved of all his duties, and all the businesses under his name were reclaimed. Gloria's eyes lit up. She put down the ledger, and said to Mars, does he still have the right to inherit? That wasn't mentioned. Mars shook his head, and continued, however, judging from the way that Master handled this matter, it seems like he's no longer going to tolerate Cyril's behavior. This is a good thing for you. Cyril did this to himself. We just have to make sure we do our jobs properly, and leave the other matters to grandfather to decide. Gloria picked up the ledger and continued reading it. Mars looked at Gloria with appreciation as he backed out of the room quietly. What are you looking at? Camilla asked as she leaned against the wall, and looked at Angela who was poking her head out and peeping sneakily. Nothing. I'm simply observing this busy restaurant casually. The job seems busier than I've imagined, Angela calmly replied as she retracted her gaze from Irina without a trace. Really? Camilla looked at her with a questioning smile. Then, what is big sister Camilla looking at? Angela leaned forward a little and smiled at Camilla, narrowing her almond-shaped eyes. Camilla pursed her lips, and disdainfully said, I'm not the kind of woman that you can seduce easily. You don't have to try that on me. Excuse me. It's my occupational disease. Angela retracted her gaze and shrugged nonchalantly. Then, she perplexedly asked, however, given Countess Bartoli's reputation and power, why did you become a Mamie Restaurant's employee who is in charge of preparing the ingredients? Perhaps you are interested in the boss. I would have to be blind to be interested in him. Camilla rolled her eyes, and then told Angela, I don't understand, either. Given your talents and power, you should have become the succubi's holy maiden easily. You should be rather busy, so why did you come here to be a service staff member? Perhaps you are interested in the boss. I would have to be blind to be interested in him. Angela rolled her eyes too. Their gazes met in the air, and they both saw an inexplicable gleam in each other's eyes. It was the presence of their own kind. Chapter 1667 Little Amy, why do you want a chef's knife? Miss Gloria was the one for her. However, as a woman, she had to acknowledge that Angela was the most beautiful succubus that she had ever seen. As for being the most seductive, she was far from it. She was far from being seductive as any succubus in any red light district on the Demon Islands. She had to experience more about such things to know it. What Camilla was curious about was, why did Angela come to Mamie restaurant and be its service staff member when she was an 8th tier succubus? The succubi had it rough for the past 100 years. The succubi who had lost almost all their top powerhouses in the racial war seemed to carry some kind of curse. It was rare for succubi to advance above the 7th tier, let alone having a 10th tier top powerhouse. Having the beauty and allure without the power to protect themselves, the succubi became the target of oppression of all the tribes. Their territories were already all occupied, and the succubi that went into exile everywhere had to sell their bodies for a living. They were no longer the succubi race that was alluring yet respected in the past. Angela was the most powerful succubus she had ever seen. She wasn't even 20 years old, yet she already had an 8th tier power. She had already broken the 7th tier succubus curse, and displayed an extremely great talent for cultivation. There was a legend among the succubi: one day, the sovereign of succubi would break the curse, and lead the succubi back to rebuild their homeland and return to their past glory. However, a few suspected sovereigns of succubi had appeared in the past hundreds of years, but they all failed to lead the succubi back to glory. Hence, this legend slowly became a joke among all the tribes. The vampire tribe and the succubi tribe were rather close in the past, so Camilla knew very well that this wasn't the succubi tribe's self-consolation. The legend of the sovereign of succubi didn't appear when the succubi tribe neared its downfall, but instead it had already emerged in the ancient times. However, the mission of the sovereign of succubi then was to make the succubi into the top tribe. That mission only changed to rebuilding their homeland after the succubi tribe waned. Compared to the previous few succubi who'd barely made it over the 7th tier after hundreds of years, Angela was barely 20 years old, and she had already reached the 8th tier. The natural talent that she displayed made it even easier for people to link her to the legend of the sovereign of the succubi. Therefore, why would a young succubus like her who was given the mission of restoring the succubi tribe come to work at the Mamie restaurant willingly as a server? Perhaps, she, too, has a secret photo stone that is in Mag's hands? A hint of enlightenment and pity appeared in Camilla's gaze. Angela was also sizing up Camilla, who was in a long black dress. She was equally perplexed about why this vampire tribe's princess, Countess Bartoli, was willing to do prep work in this small restaurant's back kitchen. One had to know that the vampire tribe was one of the top 10 demon tribes, and Camilla's status was extremely noble. Moreover, she had heard that Countess Bartoli was an extremely proud vampire when still roaming around the demon islands. There were also secret rumors which said that she was a sadist, and Count Bartoli's early demise might have something to do with that. She did believe the sadist part, but she thought the part where Count Bartoli died because he couldn't withstand her sadist actions was pure rubbish. After all, that vampire count died suddenly before their wedding night. Even if Camilla had really been into that, she hadn't had the time to do it. Given her status, she wasn't in need of money to have her meals, as even having 3 meals a day at Mamie restaurant would be a piece of cake to her. She didn't have to be a secret ingredient prepper at Mamie restaurant. Seems like she might be really interested in Boss. If it isn't Boss, then it has to be someone in the restaurant. However, apart from Boss, the others are all female, so she likes females? Angela's eyes lit up as she felt that she had discovered the crux of the matter. Ahem, it seems like we have something in common. Camilla cleared her throat. Since both of them had something in Mag's grasp, that meant that they were friends. That might be it. Angela shrugged a little. She was a little surprised that Camilla also knew that Angela didn't like men, but she didn't expect her to be so direct, either. Camilla stepped forward, and said in a hushed voice, "Since we have a common goal, why not be allies?" The common goal? Worry appeared in Angela's eyes. This term was very intriguing. Maybe Camilla was interested in her too. I know about your worries, but you must know that you won't be able to handle him alone. And neither can I. Camilla looked into Angela's eyes, and earnestly said, "You should believe me here." Angela looked at Camilla as she pondered seriously. Just as the other party said, she indeed wasn't confident to win over Irina's heart alone by herself. After all, Irina had the famous Alex who couldn't be gotten rid of easily. I agree to have this alliance. Angela nodded. After hesitating, she said, but how are we going to share after we succeed? Of course, using this term isn't very correct. Share. Camilla frowned. She only wanted to take back the photo stone and the unfair contract. She shook her head. I don't think there is a need to share. If there is no sharing, Angela stole a glance at Camilla, and thought, perhaps she wants the three of us to live happily together forever? This sounds, not bad, either. Angela, please help to serve the dishes to the designated hot pot area. Right then, Rena's voice sounded. All right. Angela answered before extending her hand toward Camilla, and whispered, I believe we will be able to succeed. I believe in that too. Camilla shook Angela's hand, and the alliance of the century was made. Amy struggled for a long time behind the counter as she hugged Ugly Duckling. Finally, she made her decision. She put Ugly Duckling on the counter, leaped off the bar stool, skipped to Ram's table, and seriously said to him, Grandpa, can you make a chef's knife for me, please? A chef's knife? Ram asked Amy smilingly. Little Amy, why do you want a chef's knife? Michael's family of three were also looking at Amy curiously. The previous person who asked Master Ram to forge a chef's knife was Boss Mag. They didn't expect Little Boss would make the same request. I will ask Father to buy your chef's knife. He said, if only you would agree to forge a weapon for me. But you only know how to forge chef's knives, so I can only ask you to make a chef's knife for me. Amy tapped her two index fingers together as she worriedly said, I just worried that my masters will be angry if they find out. After all, they are not very mature. One her is obviously neither Angela nor Camilla. Camilla. I want to be a knight. Master Ram was also stunned when he heard that, and then he broke out into laughter. Most people in this world feared him, respected him, or even had something to ask of him. Not many people treated him like a normal person. However, Amy thought that he was just a blacksmith who only knew how to make chef's knives, and furthermore one who could barely make a living. She obviously didn't like to use a chef's knife, but she still decided to buy a chef's knife from him to be her weapon. This innocence and kindness made him feel warm and touched in this foreign land. Little Amy is Crassus and Urian's disciple. She should be the first magic caster on Norland continent to cultivate both close combat and long-range offensive magic, and both fire and ice magic at the same time. Her two masters will freak out if she chooses a chef's knife to be her weapon, Michael teased Amy. Everyone was smiling kindly as they could see that Master Ram really liked Little Boss, and naturally wouldn't take this innocent comment to heart. Of course, nobody was going to take Amy's request seriously. Many great magic casters had lined up to ask Master Ram to forge a magic caster staff for them, and they had all failed, so how would Master Ram ever agree to that request? Mag also heard Amy's words in the kitchen, and he pinched his glabella. He hadn't expected that was how the little one had interpreted his words. How was a magic caster going to make use of a chef's knife? Was she trying to cut the electrical wires with the chef's knife to make sparks and lightning? Master Ram's eyes lit up when he heard that, and he looked at Amy with astonishment. Cultivating both long-range offensive and close combat magic, and both ice and fire magic at the same time. He only knew that this little one knew some magic, but she was actually the disciple of both Crassus and Urian, and was learning both their expertise simultaneously. Actually, I still want to learn about light magic and swordsmanship, added Amy. Those aren't enough yet. Everyone stared at Amy with shock. She, who was only 4 years old, was actually thinking about learning other types of magic and swordsmanship. Why so? Asked Ram. His gaze was getting more and more interested. I heard that fire magic together with light magic would create extremely beautiful fireworks. Amy smiled widely. I simply want to see if that is really true. Everyone fell to the ground together. They hadn't expected that the reason would be so out of the norm. However, Ram nodded after considering it seriously. This sounds rather interesting. I know, right? I just knew it, Amy said happily. Ram curiously asked, what about swordsmanship? Aren't you a magic caster? Why do you want to learn swordsmanship? Do you want to be a knight? Yes, yes. I want to be a knight. The kind of knight who could fly to the sky with a sword to stab the evil dragon. Amy nodded with little stars in her eyes. And then, set off a beautiful firework to celebrate. Ram chuckled. Therefore, you learn magic just for setting off pretty fireworks. Everyone began to stare at them upon hearing that. Amy shook her head. Not really. Magic can fly too. I can set off fireworks when I'm happy, and set off hailstones when I'm unhappy. I can toss a little lotus when I don't want to fight. It's very convenient. It's perfect. Everyone blinked. It sounded quite right, but didn't seem completely right at the same time. Magic was really for the sake of convenience? Of course, nobody was taking Amy's words seriously. After all, trying to become a great magic caster by cultivating a certain type of magic was already extremely difficult, let alone cultivating both fire and ice magic and cultivating both close combat and long-range offensive magic at the same time like Amy. A close combat magic caster, a long-range offensive magic caster, a knight, an ice, fire, and light magic caster. Master Ram pondered seriously before he said to Amy, "Little Amy, I'm not confident to produce the weapon that you want right now. Let me tell you again whenever I get the inspiration. Can this be considered as saying yes to little boss request? Master Ram's very trustworthy. He has never failed to fulfill an order that he has agreed on. This cannot be considered as agreeing, right? Master Ram only said that he will consider it. Who is able to make that? It has to be a magic wand, close combat magic caster's staff, resistant to the wear and tear of fire and ice magic, and something that could be used as a sword that could slay a dragon in the sky and chop vegetables in the kitchen. Isn't this request too much?" People were staring at Master Ram and Amy and talking softly. Maybe they were witnessing the moment that a great weapon was born. Of course, it could also be a cute kid's unreasonable request. Are chef's knives so difficult to make now? Amy looked at Ram with a frown. She still nodded and consoled him after a brief moment of thought. It's fine. I'm not in a hurry. Take your time to think about it, Grandpa. Just tell me whenever you are ready. All right. Master Ram nodded with a smile, and finished sucking the piece of fish bone on his plate. Then, he got up, and said to Michael, "I have something on today, and need to go back early. Thank you for your treat, my lord and lady." Michael got up too, and smilingly said, "All right, Master Ram. See you again." Monica and Vivian also got up and bade farewell to him. "Goodbye, Grandpa." Amy also waved at Master Ram, and reminded him, "You've got to remember it, okay?" Mag watched Ram, who hurried away, and inwardly murmured, "Is that considered as a yes? A magic wand that could be used as a sword? What an unreasonable request!" However, perhaps Master Ram was the only weaponsmith who could fulfill Amy's ridiculous request. Without any surprises, whether Master Ram would forge a custom-made weapon for Little Boss had already become the hottest topic among the customers. "Father, do you think little Amy would be Master Ram's fated person?" asked Vivian. "Maybe. From the moment he left Eason Castle and came to Chaos City, nothing is impossible to him." Michael took a sip from his wine glass and smiled. "Besides, we probably wouldn't find another more unreasonable weapon than that request. To him, it might be an interesting challenge." "I also want to see if a weapon like that really does exist," Vivian said with glowing eyes. Amy walked to the kitchen's entrance, and said to Mag in a piteous tone, "Father, the grandpa that sells chef's knives is so pitiful. He even needs inspiration before he can forge a chef's knife. Mag turned around, and smilingly said, "Never mind, let's wait for his news. Maybe he can really forge the weapon that you want. Him. Even if the chef's knife he made is ugly, let's buy one from him too." Amy nodded. "Good." Mag nodded with a smile. Chapter 1669. Are you serious about picking sheep's dung for half a month? "But, she's just a 4-year-old girl," Joey still whispered with disbelief. There were many nobles and 10th-tier powerhouses among the customers who lined up to beg Master Rom for a weapon. Yet, the other party was only interested in the request of a 4-year-old girl. Joey knew very well that this might be his master's last work. If it was wasted on a little girl's unreasonable request, that would be the entire continent's regret. Do you think Krasu and Urian are stupid? Given their characters, if they could compromise to take in little Amy as their disciple, that shows that she must have great talent. Her future is bright. Master Rom chuckled, and continued, "Furthermore, even though she is only 4 years old and still weak now, the weapon that I'm going to forge will be one that she can still use when she becomes a top powerhouse." Joey pondered, and worriedly said, "If that is the case, I'm afraid that weapon won't be able to occupy a good spot on the weapons rankings." "Ho ho! That's just a boring ranking. If you want to get onto the ranking, the user's power is more important than the weapon itself." Master Rom shook his head. "The Tiandu sword is just a heavy and hard sword. It's just a work that I used for practice in my early years, and yet it's ranked number 3 on the weapons ranking. But, there is no other sword in this world that is as heavy and hard as this sword," Joey corrected. His master always judged his previous works harshly, he even put down the Tiandu sword. However, it was just because Master Rom was such a person that he had continued to scale peak after peak, and created one legendary weapon after another. "Tell them to hasten the building process of the workshop. Let's return to our abode right away." Master Rom closed his eyes and began to design the new weapon in his mind. He knew very well that this challenge would be unprecedented. However, it was just because of that his still heart began to beat again. "Yes," Joey answered softly, and then instructed the coachman to return to their abode. Then, he sat in the corner quietly. Ding! The system noticed that the host had set up a hot pot restaurant branch, and made the first step in promoting scrumptious food in the alternate world. Announcing a new mission, the new hot pot restaurant must have 1,000 patrons on its opening day. Mission reward: you will receive a mutton soup recipe. Mission failure: you will have to go and pick sheep's dung at the extremely cold place in the northwestern area for half a month. The system's voice suddenly appeared in Mag's mind. Mag was taken aback and frowned. "System, are you serious about picking sheep's dung for half a month?" "The real sheep's dung," answered the system. "Today's operation is already going to end, and you gave me this mission so suddenly. The hot pot restaurant is already going to open tomorrow, where am I going to find 1,000 people?" Mag rolled his eyes with exasperation. This system was also too freaking irresponsible. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant hadn't done any promotion till now, and he had to fill the restaurant completely on the first day. This wasn't going to be a simple task. Mamie Restaurant only had its first customer after a hard time in the beginning, and it took some time to fill the restaurant with customers. He didn't want to go and pick sheep's dung in some extremely cold place in the northwestern area. That thing wasn't even as easy to pick as the cow's dung. After seeing the system remain silent, Mag took a look at the restaurant. The customers were already preparing to leave as it was near to the closing time. "I can't allow this batch of customers to escape." Mag put down his spatula, and cleaned his hands with a towel before going out of the kitchen with a smile. "Excuse me, everybody, I have something to announce. Tomorrow, Mana Hot Pot Restaurant, which is opened by Mamie Restaurant's designated Hot Pot Areas Manager, Rena, will start its operation formally and usher in the new era of the fairly priced hot pot. We welcome all of you to go and try it out. Just turn left when you exit the door, and you will see it after walking for 500 meters. The customers stared at Mag and fell into a silence for a moment before they broke out into a commotion. My heavens! Did Boss Mag open a new hot pot restaurant behind our backs? Fairly priced hot pot? Does that mean that it's cheaper than Mamie Restaurant's hot pot? Mamie Restaurant's hot pot will cost over 1,000 per person if we're to order meat. It hurts the pocket badly whenever we have it. I wonder how the new hot pot restaurant is priced. Mamie Restaurant is having its off day as usual tomorrow, and I was just thinking about where to go and have my meals. Why don't we go try out the new hot pot restaurant? The customers all expressed great enthusiasm for the new hot pot restaurant. Is Boss promoting it personally? Rena heard it in the kitchen, and looked at Mag in surprise. Initially, she was still worried that the restaurant might have no business when it opened tomorrow. She also didn't know how to advertise it, as this was her first time opening a restaurant. Mag returned to the kitchen with a smile. The feedback was quite good. Although it couldn't make up to 1,000 people, at least it would resolve the problem of attracting the first batch of customers. All things were difficult before they were easy. The most worrying part when opening a new shop was that nobody was willing to try it out. As long as the shop was boisterous, it could attract the surrounding crowd to come in to try it out and bring in the first batch of customers. As for whether those customers would become regulars, that would depend on their potential. Mag wasn't worried about that at all. He had eaten at Mana Hot Pot restaurant before. The hot pot soup bases were very distinct. The spicy hot pot and clear soup hot pot both had their advantages. The ingredients were fresh and of high quality. The crux was that the price wasn't even 20% of Mamie Restaurant's. The restaurant ended its service, and the cleanup was swiftly done with 2 to 3 magic spells. Mag smiled at all of them. Tomorrow is our off day, and Rena's Hot Pot restaurant is also opening for business tomorrow. If all of you have nothing to do tomorrow, you can go and help out at the new restaurant. It might be a little busy on its very first day of business. Yabimiya raised her hand, and said, "All right, I will go there in the morning. Although I want to sleep in, if there's hot pot for me to eat, then I'm fine with it." Bablai raised her hand too. Everyone said that they were prepared to go help Rena out tomorrow. Actually, I've already made all the arrangements for the restaurant, and the employees have already undergone strict training and practice, so they should be able to handle it. Rena shook her head smilingly at all of them. It's rare for all of you to have an off day, how could I make you all continue to help me out? But all of you can come to the restaurant for hot pot tomorrow. It will be my treat. Since Rena is able to handle it, then let's not go and make trouble for her. We will be content with being customers. Mag nodded. It seemed like Rena had already done all the preparations. Mag said to all of them, "Oh, yes. Invite all your friends to the restaurant tomorrow. It'll be my treat. Let's all go and have hot pot at Rena's Hot Pot restaurant. Can we call all our friends? I know many children." Amy began to count on her fingers. "Jessica, Daphne, Ignatsu, can I invite all the night elves?" asked Firis. 20,000 night elves. Mag raised his eyebrows. No way was he going to allow that to happen. He cleared his throat, and said, "In order not to take up too many seats, it's best that we only take up 2 tables at most. Let's invite our friends after a few days." Everyone nodded in agreement. Mag heaved a breath of relief, and said, "Rena, have you prepared any business opening promotion?" I plan to give a free plate of duck intestine to every table." Rena nodded. "All right. However, I suggest we only do such free dish promotion for 1 day. Word of mouth and consistent taste should be why a restaurant is able to thrive." Mag nodded. Rena nodded thoughtfully. She had planned a week of opening promotions at first, but Mag's words were a sharp reminder, so she decided to cancel all the activities after that. Mamie Restaurant had never lowered its price or given out any free dishes, but it still retained its #1 restaurant position in Chaos City with its exquisite taste. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant's menu price was already very low compared to Mamie Restaurant, and she was very confident about the taste. Mag smiled at all of them. All of you have worked hard today. Let's go back and rest. Boss, did you say that Shirley is back? Then, will they join us for the hot pot tomorrow? I haven't seen that cutie Anna for a few days, said Yabimiya. Mag smiled and nodded. I will invite them tomorrow. I think they will be coming. Oh my! This hot pot restaurant is huge. It's even twice as big as ours. When did such a hot pot restaurant pop up? Isn't that so? Our business will be all taken once this hot pot restaurant is opened. Outside of Mana Hot Pot Restaurant, a man in a mink coat and a man in a cotton coat huddled and mumbled with jealousy. Boss, it looks like they will be opening for business formally tomorrow. Their space will be able to accommodate over 1,000 people eating at the same time. If their price is even lower, then some of our customers will definitely be stolen by it. What do we do now? The manager in the cotton jacket said worriedly. What can we do? You can't stop them from opening for business. Cashier rolled his eyes, and flicked a glance at the luxuriously renovated hot pot restaurant before boarding the horse-drawn carriage parked at the side. Do a big promotion tomorrow. All the dishes in our hot pot restaurant will be buy one get one free, and our wines will be free flow, Kasia said in a deep voice after getting into the carriage. The manager worriedly said, This. Boss, then we won't be earning much. We still have to do it even though we won't be earning. We have to crush this new hot pot restaurant with the strength of our promotion and attract all the customers over. We can earn money in the future. Go to the market and pick out all the cheap ingredients. Keep our cost to the lowest, Kasia gravely said. Furthermore, send someone to their restaurant to investigate and see what they are selling. The few markets in the south of the city belong to us, so it's not difficult to cut off their supply chain. Yes. The manager swiftly nodded. I want to see which other hot pot restaurant apart from Mamie Restaurant is able to take our business in Chaos City. A cold smirk appeared on Kasia's face. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant was brightly lit. The main kitchen on the second floor was filled with the rich aroma of the hot pot soup bases. A few one-man tall pots were brewing the broth, and the elves were busy in an orderly manner as they prepared for the first day of business. Be careful. Separately pack the hot pot bases in advance. We must control the portions carefully. Rena was instructing everyone in the kitchen with a hint of nervousness in her expression. Rena approached a middle-aged elf and smiled. Anita, you will go with me to the market at 3 a.m. later. Go and rest for a while now. It's fine, boss. I'm not tired at all. Anita shook her head. Instead, she looked at Rena with heartache as she said, You have been working the whole day, so you should go and rest now. Leave the ingredients to me. I've already remembered all the shops and stores. I'll go and rest for a while, but I'll have to go and purchase the ingredients with you. Rena shook her head tiredly. Apart from the hot pot soup base, the most important part of the hot pot is to control the ingredients' quality. We have to do this part well, otherwise our business won't last long. All right. Anita nodded. Although they had only worked together for a short while, she knew very well that this young boss could be very stubborn in certain areas. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant was situated near the southwestern corner of Aiden Square. Due to Mamie Restaurant's powerful driving effect, the originally quiet southwestern corner began to prosper. The entire stretch was filled with restaurants, and it slowly became a popular dining spot in Aiden Square. Meanwhile, there was a unique batch of restaurants among them like Fox Grilled Fish, Cayman Roast Duck, Elven Beef Kebabs. They were all taken out from the Mamie Restaurant's menu, and turned into brand new restaurants. These restaurants were priced in the middle range to attract those customers who were interested in Mamie Restaurant's legendary dishes but couldn't afford the steep prices. One had to say that there were plenty of such customers, and they contributed a lot of revenue to those restaurants. However, those customers didn't look very satisfied when they came out from the restaurants. Those who had violent tempers would even spit at Mamie restaurant, and said with disdain, "What stupid grilled fish! How dare it cost so much? It's only so-so." Mag went to invite Shirley and Anna on his bicycle with Amy. On their way back, they happened to pass by two men who came out of a hot pot restaurant called Kasha. A man dry-heaved against a tree trunk, and angrily said, "What stupid hot pot and duck intestine! It smelled full of duck poop. I think this boss is stupid, and take us all as idiots. I heard this hot pot was invented by the boss of Mamie restaurant. This plate of duck intestine would cost 100 copper coins at his restaurant. Fortunately, we hadn't gone to his restaurant, or else we would have been cheated," the other man chimed in with an exasperated expression. The man leaning against the tree trunk turned around, and said, "Isn't that so? I think that Mamie restaurant is only so-so. I heard they even eat pig's brain. Can that thing even be eaten?" A fireball that was the size of a thumb shot through the tree he was leaning against earlier, and left a hole that was the size of a bullet. The other man trembled and stared at the father and daughter duo who rode past them slowly on a weird thing. "Why do you look like you had seen a ghost?" That man chuckled as he patted his shoulder. He was completely unaware of what had happened. 4 of a normal human. What's up? Let's go. Let's find some other place to drink. That man quickly put his arm around his friend and strode away. He had confirmed that it was an existence that he couldn't afford to antagonize. He didn't know how they had annoyed them, but it would be best for them to drink more and talk less. "Father, they are bad-mouthing our restaurant. Why don't you let me teach them a lesson?" Amy, who was sitting in her little seat, asked Mag, who was riding in front. "We will stoop to their level if we are to argue with them. We can do that, but it's unnecessary." Mag shook his head with a smile. This wasn't the first time he'd heard such smart speech. Ever since the number of copycat restaurants increased on this street, he could always hear those customers who scolded Mamie restaurant together after they ate in those restaurants which only copied the names and failed to do the dishes right. Regarding that, Mag felt rather helpless too. All his customers said they were great. He didn't expect those copycat restaurants to be so useless. The grilled fish was either undercooked or charred, and the fried rice was either too wet or overcooked. He was the most angry about the Buddha jumps over the wall. It was just a pot of messy stew. They simply threw anything into it. Weren't they afraid of poisoning their customers? The copycat restaurants had damaged the reputation of the dishes. All the shops were just eyeing the money. They were not putting in the effort to study anything. They could have done a better job if they had come to Mamie restaurant to try out the dishes a few more times. However, it wasn't Mag's business even if they were horrible cooks. He couldn't be asking them to close their shops, right? There wasn't any copyright protection for a dish name in this world yet. Even in his previous life, different restaurants could also come out with different tastes for the same dishes. Then, are we going to allow them to scold us? Amy pouted her mouth with dissatisfaction. Of course not. Mana Hot Pot restaurant is the start of our retaliation. Mag smiled. We've got to let them know what a real hot pot restaurant is. There should be a standard even for fairly priced hot pot. Those businesses who are trying to cheat their customers will be eliminated. Let's eliminate all of them. Amy nodded her little head. Seems like there are many people here. They could already see 10 odd color flower stands in front of the Mana Hot Pot restaurant and customers going in and out. The atmosphere was very boisterous. Meanwhile, in his mind, the progress bar had already jumped to 56/1000. Mag's bicycle stopped in front of the door, and Rena, who was welcoming customers at the entrance, came up to them with a smile. "Boss, little Amy, you came." Mag carried Amy off the bicycle and smiled at Rena, who had specially put on a red long dress today. "You are the boss today. Rena smiled shyly before she quickly said, let's go in first. I reserved a room for all of you on the second floor. We don't need a room. We will just eat in the hall on the first floor. Mag shook his head with a smile instead. Eating hot pot needs an ambience. You don't have to care about us. Little Amy and I will wait for them to arrive. All right. Rena nodded and continued to welcome the customers in with a smile. Mag and Amy stood to the side. He threw a glance at the flower stands, and then narrowed his eyes. 16 flower stands. 8 were bright red rose flower stands, while the other 8 were milder and youthful. They came with congratulatory words, congratulations on your opening, Mana Hot Pot Restaurant Sheer Buffet, congratulations on your opening, Mana Hot Pot Restaurant Gloria Moraton. These were specially delivered by the flower shops in the morning. They're from Miss Sheer of the Buffets and Miss Gloria of the Moratons. They should be for you, boss, Rena explained with a smile when she saw Mag staring at the flower stands. They look rather weird together. Mag cocked his eyebrow. He didn't know where those two got the news from. They even specially sent flower stands over. However, something felt rather weird with flower stands when they were placed together. Big Sister Sheer and Big Sister Gloria really care about you, father. Amy blinked her eyes, got closer to Mag, and whispered, does mother know about this? She has something on today, so she won't be having hot pot with us. Mag smilingly patted Amy's head without any fear at all. Really? We have agreed to have our dinner together tonight. Amy tilted her head and looked at Mag. It's just friends sending congratulatory flower stands for a new shop opening. It should be fine, right? Mag began to ponder deeply. You have to tell that to mother. It's fine if she believes it. Amy smiled. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant. This restaurant is huge. Today's its opening day, so every table will be given a plate of free duck intestines. Shall we give it a try? Let's not hurry. I've heard about this hot pot. Apparently it was started by Mamie Restaurant, and it cost over 1,000 per person. We're simply having a casual lunch, so it's not necessary for us to spend so much money. Geez. 1,000 per person. That's really a little expensive. 2 orcs murmured in front of the hot pot restaurant. After exchanging a look with each other, they prepared to switch to another restaurant. Ayo, Boss Mag and Little Boss, what are you guys doing here? Is this Mana Hot Pot Restaurant really a branch of Mamie Restaurant? A fatty rushed past the two of them, and hurried toward that father and daughter duo standing at the door. Isn't that the boss of Mamie Restaurant? Is that cute half-elf girl the legendary Little Boss? She's really cute. Is this hot pot restaurant really a branch of Mamie Restaurant? I heard that hot pot originated from Mamie Restaurant. I didn't expect the boss would open another branch so close to his restaurant. Mamie Restaurant's cheapest dish costs 200 copper coins, and a meal of hot pot would cost 1,000 plus per person. Seems like we don't have to think about this restaurant anymore. If this is a branch of Mamie Restaurant, then the taste will be guaranteed. Let's eat here this afternoon. The people who were watching the new restaurant's opening and considering going in to try began to talk softly. Some were initially worried about the high prices, while others decided to go in based on Mamie Restaurant's golden reputation. Mag shook his head at Harrison, who began to pant after taking a few hurried steps, and smilingly said, it's not really considered a branch. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant is a professional hot pot restaurant which focuses on fairly priced hot pot. The average spending for a normal human adult is about 100 copper coins. So cheap? I remembered a helping of pig's brain cost 100 copper coins when I had hot pot previously. It only costs 100 copper coins per person to eat to our heart's content here. Harrison stared at Mag with a shocked expression. That's for normal humans. For Big Brother Blue Fatty, you should be considered as 2.4 of a normal human, so you will need to spend 250 copper coins, corrected Amy. Mag patted Amy's head, and praised, Good calculations. Chapter 1672. It's such an honest restaurant. Harrison gave it a thought, and then said, then I will eat a little less. Please go in. Mag nodded with a smile, and gestured to Harrison that he could go in already. I won't stand on ceremony, then. Please direct Jaoy and his family in when they arrive later. Harrison hurried into the restaurant enthusiastically. Average spending is 100 copper coins per person. All the customers at the restaurant's entrance were shocked when they watched Harrison waddle in. Mamie Restaurant's high pricing was already not news in Chaos City. Its high spending where a meal could easily cost hundreds and thousands of copper coins kept away many people who weren't well off enough. Meanwhile, many new restaurants with weird names began to pop up along the street. These restaurants, which apparently had got the secrets from Mamie Restaurant, became the places where people went to satisfy their curiosity. The people who went to such restaurants usually had two reactions. 1. They really thought that they had gone to Mamie Restaurant, and heaped praises on the dish. 2. They were grossed out by those weird dishes. They then tossed all the blame onto Mamie Restaurant, and stomped it into the ground. Everyone knew those wealthy people were not idiots, but they didn't want to admit that they couldn't afford to eat in Mamie Restaurant, and had gone to try out those copycat restaurants along the street. Therefore, many of them could only feel angry. However, the boss of Mamie Restaurant actually opened a hot pot restaurant today, and the price was lowered from 1,000 copper coins per person to 100 copper coins per person. Hence, how could it not have caused a commotion? 100 copper coins. They were not going to lose out over it. Why don't we go in and try it out? Let's try it out then. I want to see if this hot pot is really as amazing as they described. The two orcs who were about to go to another restaurant turned around and entered the hot pot restaurant. As long as this boss wants to preserve his reputation, this hot pot restaurant has to taste better than other hot pot restaurants. Let's have our lunch here today. With Boss Mag's endorsement, this can't go wrong. The flower stands are even sent by the Buffets Miss Shear and the Moritons Miss Gloria. It definitely won't go wrong. The customers who were still hesitating about going in finally made their decisions, and rushed into the hot pot restaurant. +1, +1, +1. Mag's lips began to curl crazily as he watched the numbers of new customers quickly surge over 100 in his mind. Rena smiled brightly too. She said something to Mag before she went into the restaurant to handle the affairs of the restaurant's opening. The food and beverage industry's herd mentality was very severe. After all, 99% of people would choose a popular restaurant over an empty restaurant, as being popular was the proof of excellent taste most of the time. Therefore, the customers that surged into Mana Hot Pot restaurant also triggered the try-it-out mentality among the people who walked by. Spending at a newly open restaurant without any recommendations depended on instincts. Of course, the regular customers who were informed at Mamie Restaurant last night were not included in that category. All of them greeted Mag and Amy warmly, and then went straight into the hot pot restaurant. Boss Mag was the brand name itself. If Boss Mag couldn't be trusted, then nothing in Chaos City's culinary world was worth looking forward to. Boss, Amy. Mia and the rest came together, and they waved at Mag and Amy way before they reached them. Are Anna and she coming? Mia looked around her. There they are. Amy pointed at a rental horse-drawn carriage behind them with her tender little finger. Shirley was helping Anna out of the carriage. Mia's eyes lit up, and she happily said to an approaching Shirley, "Shirley, you're back. That's great." Everyone greeted her too. Shirley nodded, and apologetically said, "I'm fine. Sorry to have made all of you worry for me." "All right. Since we have all arrived, let's go in and find a seat. We will chat as we eat," Mag smilingly interrupted their chit-chat. He held Amy's hand and went into the hot pot restaurant first. They could see 100-odd hot pot tables neatly set up in the 1,000 square meter big hall as soon as they stepped in. There were simple partitions between them, but the space was still rather open. There were already about 10 odd tables having the hot pot now. The rising steam and the spicy hot pot's aroma made the atmosphere increasingly hot. The great hall, which could accommodate hundreds of people dining at the same time, had to be very spectacular when it was filled with people eating hot pot together. "Let's sit over here." Mag chose a corner table which was close to a window, and sat down. After the numbers of new customers shot up quickly in his mind, it slowly entered into a stable growth rate, and its upward trend seemed rather good. There was still hope that the number of new customers could go over 1,000, so Mag didn't bother to keep track of it. Instead, he sat down and flipped open the menu. Whoa! The prices here are unbelievably low. A helping of pig's brain only costs 25 copper coins. Sliced beef only costs 35 copper coins a helping. Even my favorite duck intestine only costs 25 copper coins a helping. Harrison, who was seated not too far away from Mag, was already overcome with joy after he read the menu. Would Big Sister Rena make a loss with such low prices? Babla worriedly asked after she read the menu. Nobody would do a business that loses money. To be able to list such prices means that Rena is already sure that she can get high-quality ingredients at a very low price. Mag shook his head with a smile. He trusted Rena's foresight and attitude. Yabimiya praised, "Big Sister Rena is really a capable lady boss. Order whatever you want. It's my treat today." Mag turned the menu toward them. Things are not looking good. Everyone was simply looking initially, but after that man said something, all the customers went in. "It's getting boisterous now," a man said with panic after he watched the customers go into Mana Hot Pot restaurant from a distance. "This isn't good. We can't allow them to grow," the other man said with a frown. "What do we do now? Watch me. Don't do anything rash. The boss has specially instructed us that although we can lower the prices, we cannot and dare not touch that restaurant. Don't worry, I'm not stupid." That man tidied his clothes, and walked toward Mana Hot Pot restaurant. Another group of customers began to gather at the Hot Pot restaurant's entrance again. They were looking at the opening promotions notice above the signboard. "Giving a free plate of duck intestine is nothing." That man walked into the crowd, and said with disdain, "I passed by that Kasha Hot Pot restaurant earlier, and they are having a buy one, get one free for all their dishes. Moreover, they are having free flow of alcoholic drinks too. Apparently, its average spending per person is not even 50 copper coins. It's such an honest restaurant." Chapter 1673 I want Big Sister Amy. Order a helping of soup base, and I'll be able to drink until they close down. The man's words caused a commotion among the crowd. Their promotion with prices that were lower by 50% and the free flow of alcohol had defeated the Mana Hot Pot restaurant's promotion instantly. Isn't a hot pot simply adding ingredients into a pot of soup to cook? They all taste the same, so let's choose Kasha Hot Pot restaurant. We can eat double of everything and drink as much as we want. The price is cheap too. Just walk 500 meters ahead. You might not get it if you are late," that man hurried them with a smile. "Let's go and try out that Kasha Hot Pot restaurant. Let's see what hot pot really is." Many of them began to turn and leave after hearing that. The crowd gathering at the entrance quickly dispersed. "Manager, this technique of yours is great." The skinny man gave the man who returned full of smiles a thumbs up and buttered him up. "Not only did you spoil their business, you even got many customers for our hot pot restaurant. All these are just small tricks. If the boss hadn't disallowed me to use more drastic measures, I would have found some fierce-looking demons to sit in front of their entrance. We don't even have to do anything then, and they won't be able to open for business." The man smiled smugly. "Why is the boss so wary of this hot pot restaurant?" The skinny man couldn't understand. "I didn't know about that previously, either. I've only heard the boss say that this restaurant has very powerful backers. The Marquis family went against them, and even lost their head of the family because of that. However, just now that man who came with a little half-elf girl was the boss of Mamie Restaurant. The congratulatory flower stands were from Miss Shear of the Buffets and Miss Gloria of the Moritons. Obviously, these are proof that it cannot be trifled with. The man coldly smirked. However, there are plenty of methods to compete in the business world. As long as we don't break the laws, the city lord's castle can't do anything to us. Let's see if it's us, Kasia, who outlast them, or they who outlast us. Marvelous! With our boss capabilities, we naturally are not afraid to drag this out with them. The skinny man chuckled. That manager smiled. Of course. They will be having an even harder time after we get hold of their supply chain. Boss, that man over there came over to make trouble and lure all the customers over to that hot pot restaurant called Kasia, the server at the door angrily said to Rena when she came out to take a look. Rena specially came out to check when she realized the number of customers had decreased. She looked at where the service staff pointed, and saw the fat man and the thin man standing next to a tree in the opposite street. She furrowed her pretty brows, and asked, "How did they do it?" That service staff member angrily said, "They told the customers who were about to enter our restaurant that Kasia Hot Pot Restaurant is having a buy one, get one free promotion for all the dishes, free flow of alcohol, and their prices are even cheaper than ours by 50%. They even said that hot pots are all the same, of course they must go for the cheaper one." Then, the customers were all lured away. Buy one, get one free for all the dishes and free flow of alcohol. Such promotion is almost making a loss. This Kasia Hot Pot Restaurant is aggressive, Rena thought inwardly. This hot pot restaurant was one of the bigger ones on Aden Square, and it was situated near their dormitory. She could see it every time she went to work. This hot pot restaurant's prices were slightly higher than in the usual hot pot restaurants, but it was still much cheaper compared to Mamie Restaurant. With its rather elegant decor and quite alright tastes, its business was rather good. Rena had gone to try out all the hot pot restaurants on Aden Square personally a while ago. Kasia Hot Pot Restaurant's soup base wasn't really authentic, and was way below Mamie Restaurant's spicy hot pots level. However, compared to the other poorly copied hot pot restaurants, Kasia Hot Pot Restaurant at least got the spicy part right, and the spice coordination was still reasonable. It belonged to those hot pot restaurants that one could go every once in a while. To those people who hadn't tried Mamie Restaurant's hot pot before, it was still not bad. However, she had never seen them do any promotions before. She didn't expect that they would do such a big promotion on Mana Hot Pot Restaurant's opening day. Obviously, they were trying to strike at Mana Hot Pot Restaurant. It was extremely important for a newly opened restaurant to build up its reputation. The boisterous ambience could accelerate popularity and reputation quickly. Otherwise, every day's expenditure was a huge sum for such a big restaurant, and normal people couldn't afford to drag it out for too long. The other party's ploy that inflicted damage on them while they suffered a smaller but comparable level of damage was to drag out and bankrupt Mana Hot Pot Restaurant with their strong capital. "Boss, is our opening day's promotion too weak?" that server asked softly. "It would be bad if all the customers were stolen. A bigger promotion will attract the customers for a period of time. If we cannot guarantee the dish's quality, we will only restrict our future development and lose even more customers." Rena shook her head and smiled confidently. She looked at the two men who were peeking at her from afar. "As long as we continue to do what we started to achieve and control the quality well, we will only have better reputation and popularity. We don't have to rush to win now." That service staff member looked at Rena, and her eyes gradually glowed. The boss's and everyone's hard work this time was still visible. Mana Hot Pot Restaurant deserved that price, and they were confident that customers would return to them. Trajay got out from his horse-drawn carriage with his daughter in his arms, and he couldn't help but chuckle when he saw the name on the signboard. "It should be here, right? Mana Hot Pot Restaurant, Mamie Restaurant. Boss Mag is really terrible at giving names." Parmer got out of the carriage, and said, I think it sounds rather nice. Big sister, big sister. Brother, I want big sister Amy. Parber waddled out and grabbed Parmer's clothes. Parmer held Parber's little hand, and said with resignation, but she doesn't want you. Miranda walked out with Angus, who was sucking his pacifier, and smilingly said, I think it sounds nice too. Boss Mag is a really talented person. Wooden horse, Christy in Georgie's arms pouted her lips toward the hot pot restaurant, and made a sound. All right, all right. If you guys say it's nice, then it's nice. Your Uncle Harrison must have already arrived. Let's go in too. Georgie smilingly kissed Christy's cheek, got off the carriage, and walked toward the restaurant. Another big business. Watch me. That manager, Isaac, tidied his clothes and approached Georgie and his family. He blocked them with a big smile on his face, and said, Mister, are you bringing your family to eat the hot pot? Yes. Are you part of the service staff? Georgie halted and sized up the friendly fat man in front of him. Although he was a little slimmer compared to him, the standard of this Boss Mag's branch's service staff had really deteriorated quite a bit. Chapter 1674 The Young Master with Kidney Deficiency. Georgie retracted his gaze with a frown when he realized Isaac was still blocking them. He didn't want to hear any before his meal. He said, Excuse us, we're going to have our meal. During this time, another small group of customers who were still deliberating gathered in front of the hot pot restaurant. This was a new restaurant, after all, so people were still hesitating if they should go in to try it out. Furthermore, this was a restaurant that was opulently renovated, and looked very expensive. Isaac didn't expect Georgie to be so impatient, but he didn't seem to be angry. Instead, he smilingly said, Don't rush, sir. I'm not a bad guy. I'm just an ordinary customer too. I just heard that the Kasha hot pot restaurant over there all right, you can stop talking now. I've specially come to eat at Mana hot pot restaurant today. This is Boss Mag's branch. Hence, those who know about a golden brand and guaranteed quality would naturally know. Georgie interrupted Isaac again. The latter was indeed here to advertise his own restaurant. Furthermore, this technique was obviously to steal Mana restaurant's customers. He didn't expect someone would dare to do this on Boss Mag's territory. Randy got off a horse-drawn carriage, and smilingly continued, Hey, hey. The service staff here are all beautiful. You know it very well. Georgie gave Randy a thumbs up. Thank you for your praises. Randy cupped his hands. He walked past Isaac and entered the hot pot restaurant directly. Isaac felt embarrassed after his lies were exposed. This was the first time that he met such difficult customers. Georgie was about to walk past Isaac with Christy in his arms, but he stopped next to him, and turned to say to Miranda, Come, you guys walk in front of me. Miranda flicked a glance at Isaac before she carried Angus and led Parmer and Parber toward the restaurant's entrance. The other customers who were hesitating earlier were now all interested after hearing that. Everyone knew about the famous Mamie restaurant. They were prepared to follow them in to try it out. They could take a look even if they didn't eat. Isaac quickly smiled after he saw that. Don't be mistaken, bro. I didn't come to bring harm to you all. I'm just a friendly person, and I'm afraid that you don't know that Kasha hot pot restaurant over there is having a big promotion today. The hot pot soup base is free, the dishes are having a buy one, get one free, and the alcohol is free flow. The average spending per person is less than 50 copper coins. If you miss it today, you will. Georgie looked at him sarcastically, and said, Tell me, how do you earn this dirty money? Let's all earn it together. Isaac choked on the words that he had planned to say. He only managed to smile and say after a while, What are you talking about? I don't understand. Bro, you can only do such things at noon. Georgie patted Isaac on his shoulders before he walked straight toward the hot pot restaurant's entrance. Why is that so? Isaac asked, staring at George's back. Because you will be getting into trouble sooner or later, George replied without even looking back. Isaac paled as he felt a hint of ominous feeling. Meanwhile, some customers also followed George and his family into the hot pot restaurant. This hot pot restaurant is a bit too big. Just the first floor alone can accommodate a few Mamie restaurants, and moreover, there is a second floor. Randy couldn't help lamenting after he entered the hot pot restaurant and saw the spacious hall. In Chaos City, only Dukas restaurant was able to rival a restaurant of this scale. However, the service staff are actually all elven maidens, and they are all fair and beautiful with long legs. Boss Mag is indeed Boss Mag. Just the standard of the service staff alone is beyond other restaurants. Randy swept his gaze around the hall once, and his gaze was completely attracted by those elven maidens. A service staff member went forward to him with a smile, and asked, "Sir, are you alone, or do you have company?" Randy looked around him, and after thinking for a moment, he replied, "May I share a table with someone?" "Sir, there are plenty of seats in the restaurant now, and you can choose to sit wherever you want." "You don't have to share a table," answered the server with a smile. "It's a little sad, to eat hot pot alone." Randy sighed. He had been sharing a table with Abraham lately, but because Mamie restaurant was having its regular off day today, when he heard that Boss Mag had opened a new hot pot restaurant at the very last minute, he decided to come over to try it out. He wanted to see if he could use it as a new topic, but he had forgotten about the awkwardness of having to eat alone. He could even have the 9-squared pot too. It was fun to eat, and he could also make some new friends. People who ate hot pot were all geniuses, and they always had interesting conversations. "Bro, since we are both alone, let's share a table then. We're both Mamie restaurant's regulars, and I always see you there," a voice spoke out behind Randy. Randy turned around and saw a tall, skinny, and pale man. His eyes lit up as he said, "It's you. The young master with kidney deficiency. I'm called Vicenio." Vicenio flicked a glance at the elf, who was concealing her smile at the side, with a sullen look. Even though he looked rather weak, the other man shouldn't have called him that in public. "How do you do? I'm Randy," Randy introduced himself with a smile. Vicenio looked familiar to him too. Randy could often see him together with a voluptuous young married woman, and the man seemed to like Rigiamo. However, he was alone today. Of course, it was mainly because he looked as if he was being squeezed dry every time, and that gave people a deep impression. Although they had never talked to each before, since they were both Mamie restaurant's regular customers, they could be considered as half an acquaintance. It would be better than eating alone. The two of them immediately found a corner table and sat down together. Randy couldn't wait to pick up the menu as soon as he sat down. His eyes lit up as soon as he flipped it open, and he exclaimed, "So cheap." On the menu's top left corner were the 3 soup bases that they could choose. They were the spicy hot pot, the mushroom pot, and the double-flavored pot, and they cost 30 copper coins each. One had to know that the same soup base would have cost 200 copper coins per helping at Mamie restaurant. However, that bone broth was really delicious, and he could drink 3 bowls of it on its own. Looking further down, a helping of pig's brain only cost 25 copper coins. A helping of sliced beef only cost 35 copper coins. A helping of duck intestine also only cost 25 copper coins. This pricing was at least 10 times cheaper than Mamie restaurants. "What is going on? Is Boss Mag trying to steal his own business too?" mumbled Randy. This pricing was bringing the hot pot from the high-end dining to the level of average spending. Even a normal white-collar worker could choose to have it once a month. "Let's share a spicy soup pot, and then choose other items individually," Randy asked Vicenio. "That's fine." Vicenio nodded in agreement. The two quickly ordered their food, and while waiting for it to be served, they began to chit-chat. "Why didn't your wife come with you today?" Randy smilingly asked. He had a deep impression of that seductive young madam. Being 35 or 36 years old, she was at the age where she was at the peak of her sexual appetite. Moreover, she looked like she was very demanding. No wonder Vicenio's body couldn't take it. She had gone to collect the rent today, so she was not free to come. Vicenio shook his head. After hesitating for a moment, he then asked, "Bro, may I ask you something? My wife always drapes herself all over me like an octopus when we are sleeping. Is there a way to stop her from doing that?" Randy looked at Vicenio, and then meaningfully said to him, "When I was still schooling, the teacher always made me wipe the blackboard. It wasn't because the blackboard was dirty, but because I didn't hand in my homework." Vicenio paled before he flipped open the menu, and ordered 2 more pig's brains. "Can this thing nourish that part?" exclaimed Randy. "No, I need to calm down." Vicenio shook his head. Randy gave him a thumbs up silently. Trajay and his family entered the hot pot restaurant too, and they went straight toward Harrison's table. When they were about halfway to that table, Trajay saw Mag and the gang sitting nearby, and he made a turn toward their table. He chuckled. "Boss Mag, you guys came here for hot pot today too?" "Yes. We came to give our support on the opening day." Mag nodded with a smile. Little sister Christy Amy had already leaped up from her chair, and lifted her hands up at Trajay. "Can I hold her for a moment, please? Big sister Amy. Hug, I want a hug." Parber let go of Parma's hand, and waddled toward Amy with an ecstatic smile. "Stop!" Amy extended her hand, and pressed it against Parber's forehead. She shook her head at him, who had stretched out his arms. "I refuse." Parber's smile froze instantly, and his lips trembled before he turned around, ran into Parma's arms, and aggrievedly cried, "Big brother, big sister Amy refused to hug me again. I want to be a girl, I want to be a girl." Parmer patted his little brother's back with resignation. "Come, there you are." Trajay handed Christy to Amy carefully. He only let go after he made sure that she had a firm hold on her. "Yeah, yeah." Christy immediately smiled happily when Amy held her, and she made some cute sounds. She was looking at Amy with her bright eyes happily. Miranda went to pat Parber's head with a smile, and said to Amy, "Christy doesn't want her brothers to hold her. It seems like big sister Amy is her favorite." "Yes, she isn't that happy when she sees me, either." Trajay felt a tinge of envy. "Perhaps good-looking people like good-looking people too." Amy smiled. She kissed Christy on her cheek, and made her chuckle happily. "The little one is getting cuter every day." Mag looked at Christy in Amy's arms. This little one was very fair, and she looked like she was wearing a wig with her short blonde hair. She looked extremely cute. As they were Mamie restaurant's regulars, everyone knew Trajay's family quite well. Mia even got up to play with Christy, while Gina used a colorful bubble to make Parber stop crying easily and made him happy again. Trajay went close to Mag, and said to him in a low voice, "Boss Mag, I got to tell you something. I met a guy who was hijacking your customers at the door earlier. He was promoting the Kasha Hot Pot restaurant's promotion about some buy one, get one free dishes and free flow of alcohol. I know you wouldn't care about such low-class competition tactics. I simply wanted to let you know. That actually happened." Mag furrowed his eyebrows. No wonder the number of customers entering the restaurant had decreased. So it was because someone was pouching them outside. Perhaps, because Mamie restaurant had grown very rapidly, and entered into the stage where he didn't have to worry about the numbers of customers, Mag had never experienced commercial competition before. Even those coming to challenge had come to him directly, and were disposed of by him right after. This was his first time encountering someone hijacking his customers at the door. "Enjoy your meal. We go over there first." Trajay took Christy from Amy, and led his family toward Harrison's table. "Yeah, yeah." Christy waved her little hand at Amy, as if she was saying goodbye. Little sister Christy is so cute. I like her so much. Amy sat down again, and asked Mag, "Father, when can I have a little sister of my own?" All the ladies at the table looked at Mag. If Amy wanted a little sister, then she would need to have a mother first. "You will get your little sister sooner or later. Come, eat the duck intestine now before it's overcooked." Mag put the duck intestine that he had just blanched into Amy's bowl. Wow! Amy's attention was indeed instantly attracted by the duck intestine in her bowl, and she began to chew on the crunchy duck intestine. Could this matter be decided by him? It all depended on when Irina wanted to have a second baby. As for that fellow hijacking their customers out there, Mag decided to ignore him after thinking about it briefly. He had made an agreement with Rina earlier that he wouldn't intervene in the new hot pot restaurant's matters, and would just be a quiet investor. Although the other party wasn't right morally, he was still competing within the legal framework. Mag couldn't be sending Amy out there to burn him with a fireball. Such incidents would be happening in the future too, and he believed Rina had the capability to handle them. However, when he saw the numbers of new customers had not even reached 200 in his mind, he felt like going out there to hack that fellow personally again. If he failed this mission, not only would he lose the mutton soup's recipe, he still had to go and pick sheep's dung in that extreme cold place in the northwestern area. Fricking picking sheep's dung. I think this hot pot is rather nice too. Although there is a slight difference in the soup base, it has a different kind of spiciness. The mushroom soup pot tastes very fresh too. It tastes even more interesting than the bone broth alone. Rina is really super good, Firas said with respect as sweat beaded on her forehead. Yes. The duck intestine and the rest are very fresh too. They are crunchy and tender, which taste super delicious. Mia nodded with agreement. I like this Mala spicy beef the most. It tastes great. It's spicy, tender, and juicy. And it's a completely new dish that isn't even available at Mamie restaurant, said Babla with surprise. She's indeed very good as she can keep the ingredients cost so low while ensuring the quality of them. Mag nodded in agreement. Rina didn't have a system which could supply her with the best ingredients. She had to choose the best ingredients suppliers and buy the best ingredients from them. None of those tasks was easy. Although there was a slight difference in the food quality with Mamie restaurant, gaining Mia and the ladies' approval was enough to prove Rina's conscientiousness and outstandingness. A hot pot of this quality that only cost 100 copper coins per person could already be called a business with conscience. As for the Kasha hot pot restaurant, they had already lost from the moment they started the buy one, get one free promotion. Cheap prices weren't enough to keep the customers. Quality control was the only way to ensure the survival of the food and beverages industry.